If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter-Spy.
Classic Radio Theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Drama on this Thursday with radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, the Lux Radio Theater production of Little Women, and an episode of Lum and Abner. And you're going, wait, that's only 3 shows. There's 2-hour-long shows in this, so you'll find it fun, I hope. On this Thursday, 13th day of March, 72nd day of the year. We have 293 days left in 2025. William Herschel discovered the planet Uranus on this date in 1781. Yes, I know, but I don't want... This is not... We're not talking about Uranus, Missouri, or as they like to call it, Uranus, Missouri. Yes... the home of the best fudge in America. They packed the fudge in Uranus, Missouri. The federal government forbade all Union Army officers from returning fugitive slaves on this date in 1861, thus effectively annulling the Fugitive Slave Law in 1850 and setting the stage for the Emancipation Proclamation. 1865, the Confederate States of America reluctantly agreed to the use of African American troops. The news of the discovery of Pluto telegraphed in 1930 to the Harvard College Observatory. 1933, banks in the U.S. began to reopen after the presidentially mandated bank holiday designed to prevent runs on banks. No panicking, you know. FBI arrested Jimmy Hoffa on this date in 1957. The union leader was charged with bribery. In 1961, President Kennedy welcomed Latin American leaders to the White House to call for economic cooperation.
I have called on all people of the hemisphere to join in a new alliance for progress, Alianza para Progreso, a vast cooperative effort, unparalleled in magnitude and nobility of purpose, to satisfy the basic needs of the American people for homes, work, and land, health, and schools, techo, trabajo, y tierra, salud y escuela.
Mixed results in that alliance for progress. In 1964, a young woman, Kitty Genovese, murdered in front of multiple witnesses, all failing to help her. In 1964, that incident shocked the world, prompted investigation into the bystander effect. 1965, President Johnson discussed the riots in Selma, Alabama, and a conversation he had with the state's governor.
I met today with Governor Wallace of Alabama to discuss very thoroughly the situation that exists in that state. The governor expressed his concern that the demonstrations which have taken place are a threat to the peace and security of the people of Alabama. I expressed my own concern about the need for remedying those grievances which lead to the demonstrations by people who feel their rights have been denied.
Later in the press conference, President Johnson affirmed the right of people to peacefully protest, but agreed that people do not have the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. 1991, the Justice Department announced Exxon agreed to pay $1 billion for the cleanup of the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska. In 1992, Warren Beatty and Annette Bening tied the knot on this date after meeting and starring in the motion picture Bugsy.
The way you were staring at me, I thought you were going to ask me for something a little more exciting.
Like what?
Use your imagination.
I'm using it.
Let me know when you're finished.
After the movie wrapped, Bening became pregnant with the couple's first child, born January 8th of 1992, and married on this date 2 months later. And it was on this date Pope Francis elected in the papal conclave at the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church.
Buonasera.
At the time of recording of this, which is the 2nd of March, the Pope has been quite ill, and we wish him the best. Passing away on this date in history, President Benjamin Harrison, women's suffrage advocate activist Susan B. Anthony, attorney Clarence Darrow, actress Maureen Stapleton, game show host most known for Press Your Luck Peter Tomarken, pro wrestler and manager Arnold Skoland, also pro wrestler Test, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the pro boxer, and William Hurt, the actor. Birthdays on this date include the science fiction author, founder of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, musician Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye, First Lady Abigail Fillmore, Millard Fillmore's wife, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and the famous tea guy, Earl Grey, mad cartoonist Al Jaffe, Scat Man John, real name John Larkin, a scat singer of some renowned, I should say, and Rerun, Fred Berry, all born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
Topping the list, the Duck of the Week. Donald Duck, 91 years old today. That would be some awfully tough duck, I would think. Neil Sedaka, 86 today, and if YouTube wasn't being such a booger, I would play something good from Neil Sedaka, but I'm not going to do that. From Fargo and Shameless, William H. Macy is 75.
Brainerd.
Yeah. Home of Paul Bunyan, Babe the Blue Ox.
Babe the Blue Ox.
With Frances McDormand in Fargo is what that was from. William H. Macy, 75 today. From China Beach, Dana Delaney, 69. From The X-Files and West Wing, Annabeth Gish is 54. From That 70s Show, Danny Masterson, who I think he's still in jail. Also Shameless and Twilight star Noel Fisher is 41. And from Into the Wild, Emil Hirsch is 40.
Is there anybody here? Guess not.
From Into the Wild, Emil Hirsch is 40. Those just a few of the people celebrating the 13th day of March as their birthday. If this is your birthday,
Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
radio's outstanding theater of thrills is next. Suspense, going all the way back to 77 years ago, March 13th, 1948. Eddie Bracken, William Conrad, in an episode entitled Nightmare. That's next.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The crusade for freedom is a crusade for your freedom and mine. The truth dollars people send the crusade for freedom help preserve our own freedom, even as they get the truth and hope to people behind the Iron Curtain. Truth dollars help finance Radio Free Europe and Radio Free Asia, the most effective weapons Western democracy has for countering lies and distortion. Send your contribution to the Crusade for Freedom, care of your local postmaster. That's Crusade for Freedom, care of your local postmaster.
Radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, did full-hour programs between the sponsorship by Roma Wine and the sponsorship by Autolite. That was in 1948. We're going to hear one of those hour-long episodes. Robert Montgomery as the host of the show and the producer. This episode goes back 77 years, March 13th, 1948. Eddie Bracken and William Conrad star in Nightmare.
Suspense. Radio's outstanding theater of thrills brings you an hour, a full 60 minutes of Suspense. Tonight starring Eddie Bracken and featuring William Conrad in Nightmare, based on the short story by William Irish, directed by Anton M. Leda and produced by Robert Montgomery.
This is Robert Montgomery. Good night. You know, when you stop to think about it, one of the nicest things we say to one another is good night. A lot of thoughts are implied in those two words, and all of them are good. Actually, what we're saying is have a good night. May it bring you rest, may you sleep well, and if your sleep is invaded by dreams, may they be pleasant dreams. All good, well-intended thoughts bound up neatly into two brief words, good night. And sleep itself is a condition that most of us welcome. Quite apart from the biological need it serves, we're grateful for the momentary escape, for being removed from reality, for the quiet, peaceful hours on the fringe of consciousness. And so most of us, most of the time, anticipate the night and sleep. Families and good friends regularly surrender each other to the gentle care of the night and call it a good thing. But in the blackest recesses of night, there can be terror. And the very night that offers you sleep may also offer the torment of dark dreams, vivid, terrible, half-real dreams that grip you, plague you with horror through the night, and are reluctant to release you to the morning. Fear, panic, terror, of such stuff are nightmares made. Nightmares like the one we bring you tonight. And now with Nightmare, one of the best-known and most imaginative short stories of Cornell Woolrich, writing as William Irish, and with our star, Eddie Bracken, we again hope to keep you in
Suspense.
First, all I could see was this beautiful face. This beautiful girl's face, like a white luminous mask swimming detachedly against enfolding darkness. There was no danger yet, but I wanted to get out of wherever this was. There was 8 doors in the room with no free wall space between. I tried one, another, a third. They were the wrong ones. I couldn't get out. The flickering white mask began to change its expression. Slowly it became evil, vindictive. It spoke. It snarled.
There he is, right behind you. Get him!
Then he, was just a black huddle, a dark, lumpy mass. It slowly uncoiled until it loomed before me upright. It came toward me, with cataleptic slowness. I wanted to turn and run in the minute, the half-minute that's all there was left now. But I couldn't move. I couldn't lift a foot. I just wavered back and forth as if my shoes were nailed to the floor. He came on, his outline still indistinct like a lumpy clay image. I could see the arms come up from the sides and couldn't avoid them. They were like lobster claws. I could feel its breath on my face. I could feel the pressure of his hands on the side of my neck, rather than in front, as if trying to break it rather than strangle me. His thumbs were digging into the straining cord right under my ears, pressing into the tender black flesh right beside the jawbone. I clawed at the merciless hands and pried one off at last, but it wrenched free of my restraint, trailing a nail scratch across my wrist, and clamped itself back where it had been. I beat at his arched body, then pulled at it and grabbed at it with the instinctive clutch of a drowning man. A button came off in my hand and I hung on to it. I don't know why. I just hung on to it.
Is he dead? No, not yet. Finish it, hurry. Hand me that drill.
I put out my hands, past him to protect myself, and something was put into one of them. She put it into my hand instead of his. I fixed my hand on it tight, lifted my arm, and drove it into him from the back. His dead body fell heavily and sprawled across me. It took almost a minute for me to push it away.
Is it done? Did you kill him?
When I stood up, she saw me. Then she disappeared as though swallowed by a shroud. I heard a door closed and turned to see which one she'd used to get out, that I might remember and find my way out. But I was too late. When I turned, she was gone, and all the doors looked alike again. I was alone with the dead body. The core of my fear lay sprawled on the floor. I had to hide it, had to shut it away. I tried the doors one by one till one of them opened. It was a closet, a shallow closet, but enough to hold the body. I dragged it across the floor. I shut the door of the closet, pressing it tight in to keep the terror that the body still held away from me. Below the knob, I found a key, a strange key shaped like a 3-leaf clover. I turned it, heard the lock click into place, then put the key into my pocket. But I couldn't keep my eyes away from the knob. It was turning slowly to the right and then to the left. And as it turned, it made a ringing noise. A ringing noise. A ringing noise. The knob. The door. The phone. Hello.
8 o'clock, Vince. Did I wake you?
What? Who is this?
It's Lil, your sister. I want you to come up for dinner tonight.
Oh, Lil, look, I'll phone you later when I'm awake, okay?
Oh, sure. Bye.
Bye. Oh, it was a dream. It was all a dream. Mirrored doors, dead bodies, beautiful women. How Freudian can you get? Must have been that salami I had last night. Never eat salami before going to bed. 11th commandment. 14 minutes after 8. That means I still have time to... I stood staring stupidly at my wrist. There was a deep scratch on my wrist. For a minute I was startled, then I realized what must have happened. I scratched myself in my sleep, and the details entered into my dream. Yeah, that's what must have happened. I dropped my watch, and it was broken, but it didn't matter. It was a cheap one. I continued dressing. I chose a blue tie, threw up the collar, drew the tie lane through, and folded it again. Part of my mind was getting ready to get frightened, but I held on to it steady like I held the collar. In the mirror, I could see them. The bruises on my throat, brownish purple marks which hadn't been there when I went to bed the night before. It took me a moment to realize, to try to reason it out. I must have done this to myself, too, crossing my arms over my chest and attempting to strangle myself in my sleep. It didn't make much sense, but it was the best I could do. I decided not to think anything more about it and continued dressing. When I had my jacket on, I put my hand in my change pocket and took what was in it to check car fare and lunch money. A button mixed in with the change. A button that didn't belong to any suit or coat I owned. I closed my hand over it and it had the feel, the shape. There was no doubt about it in my mind. It was the button from the dream. I rushed to the closet, checked every last thing I had. The button matched nothing. It wasn't from anything of mine. It didn't belong anywhere. I couldn't kid myself anymore. People don't find buttons in dreams. I decided I needed a cup of coffee. I was getting the jitters. I slipped into my topcoat and opened the door. Then before I shut it, I checked to make sure I had my key. The key I took out of my pocket wasn't my key. It was shaped like a 3-leaf clover. My knees were weak. My stomach was quivering. But I couldn't go back into the room. I had to see people, hear cars in the streets. But it didn't help. All was real. Nothing was wrong. It was me. Something in me. I ducked into a drugstore, but I couldn't eat. Instead, I went to the phone booth and called my sister Lil.
Hello?
Hello, Lil? Vince.
Well, you awake now?
Yeah, is Cliff at home?
No, he went down to headquarters an hour ago.
You expecting him back?
I am if he doesn't run off with a blonde. Why?
Then he won't be back until tonight.
Well, you're a detective, too. How'd you figure that?
Sorry I bothered you, Lil. I just wanted to talk to Cliff.
Well, what about dinner? You'll be able to see Cliff then.
Dinner?
Well, sure, I'm
no, thanks. I don't think so. Goodbye. I called the store and told them I was sick. Then I walked all day in the sunshine. Wherever the sun was brightest, I saw it and stayed in that place. And when it moved, I moved with it. I couldn't get it bright enough or strong enough, yet it didn't seem to warm me. At about 6 o'clock, I found myself in front of Cliff's house. The lights were on inside, and I could see Cliff... No, it was Lil moving around, setting the table, preparing dinner. That meant Cliff wasn't home yet. I waited outside.
Well, what's the matter, kid? Are you afraid to ring the bell?
Oh, Cliff, I didn't hear you coming.
Well, are we going in or are we going to stay out here? I'm hungry.
Cliff, I got to talk to you. Something crazy happened to me.
Well, can I wait an hour? I've had a long, hard day at the office.
Is that you, Claire?
Yeah, honey.
Well, I thought I heard you talking. Is someone with you?
Now, Vince.
Oh, you said you weren't coming, Vince.
Well,
Oh, never mind. The chickens will do for 3. Come on in.
Well, that's Lil, and there's nothing you can do about it. I hadn't eaten all day, and I hardly touched the food she served. I couldn't wait to get Cliff alone and tell him what happened. A detective should be able to help me.
Well, I'll just finish up the dishes, and then I'll be back.
Get your hat, Cliff.
What?
I've got to talk to you. Alone.
Oh, well, sure, kid. Lil, Vince and I are going to stretch our legs. Be back in a couple of minutes.
Now, Cliff, only beer.
Okay.
And then there was the button, the same shape and size and everything. It was in my trouser pocket with my change. It's on the dresser back in my own room now. If you want to come over, you can see it for yourself. And last of all, the key turned up on me next to my own keys. In the pocket where I always keep it. Here.
This is the key, huh?
Yes, that's the way it looked. And when I saw it when I was asleep, the same shape, the same color, the same design. It even weighed the same.
Hey. You're all in pieces, aren't you? I don't take it that way, kid. Don't let it get you.
Cliff, you've got to help me. I'm walking on a high wire, and there's no net.
Where'd you get this key from, Vince? I mean, where did you first get it from before you dreamed about it?
But you don't understand. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I didn't have it before I dreamed about it. I never saw it before then. Then I wake up, and it turns real.
That goes for the button, too?
The button, too.
Well, you not only have no net, you don't even have a wire. What's really got you going? Are you afraid the dream really happened? Is that it?
Don't you understand? There's a door somewhere in this city right at this very minute that this key belongs to. There's a man propped up dead behind it. I don't know where. I don't know where, nor who he is, nor how or why it happened. Only that I must have been there. I must have done it. Oh, why? Why would it come to my mind like that in my sleep? Why?
You're in a bad way, kid. Say, how about a little drink, huh? Lil or no Lil. Waiter.
Only coffee.
Oh?
Yes, sir.
Waiter, 2 coffees. Huh?
2 coffees, yes, sir.
When the coffee came, Cliff started questioning me.
And the man, the fellow, whoever he was?
No, I couldn't seem to see his face through the whole thing. I only saw it at the very end, after it was already too late. And then when the door started to open again, after I locked him in, and it seemed as though I was going to find out something horrible. About him, I guess. But I woke up before there was time.
Uh-huh. And, last of all, the place. You say nothing but doors all around you.
Uh-huh.
Have you been in a place like that lately? Ever seen one in a magazine illustration, in a story you've read in a movie?
No.
Well, let's get away from the dream for a minute. Let's leave it alone. It's starting to get me, too. Now, what did you do last night before this whole thing came up?
Nothing. Just what I do every night. I left the store at the usual time, had my meal at the usual place.
Oh, you sure it wasn't something you ate?
No food is responsible for that key. You can't create a thing like that from a dream. And I didn't have it when I went to bed last night. Cliff didn't lose his temper right away. He's a good detective and a good guy.
Listen, Vince, there's no halfway business about these things. It's either one thing or the other. Either you dream a thing or you don't dream it. It really happens. Now, you're 26 years old. You're not a kid. Now, don't worry. You'd know it and you'd remember it plenty plain afterwards if you ever came to grips with a guy and he had you by the throat like in this dream and you rammed something in his back. I don't take any stock in this stuff about people walking in their sleep and doing things without knowing it. They can walk a little ways from the bed, maybe, but the minute anybody touches them or does anything to stop them, they wake right up. They can't be manhandled and go right on sleeping through it.
I never walked in my sleep. You can ask Lil
all
if
right,
you think...
Now, do you have any recollection at all, no matter how faint, of being out of your room last night, of grappling with a guy or ramming something into him?
No. All I have is a perfectly clear recollection of going to bed, dreaming that I did all these things, and then waking up again.
Okay, then that's all there is to it. And it didn't happen. You either dream them or you do them. There's no 2 ways about it.
Don't say anything to Lil about it, will you, Cliff?
Yeah,
please?
I should say not. Don't want her to take you for bugs. Hey, you'll get over it, Vince.
First, I'll get to the bottom of it, and then I'll get over it. Cliff, are you going to help me?
What do you want me to do?
Well, you're a detective. You got the key, and the button's over in my room. You must have often had less to work with. Find out where they came from. Find out what they're doing on me.
Now, listen, cut that stuff out of you here. I don't want to hear any more about the key. I got it, and I'm keeping it, and you're not going to see it again. And if you hop on this spooky stuff anymore, I'll help you, all right? Right into the nearest sanitarium.
I was on my own, just like before I'd been there. Me and my shadows. Next day, I phoned the store and told them I still wasn't feeling well. Then Well, I stopped in at a newspaper advertising bureau and composed an ad.
Classified?
Yes, real estate.
This the entire copy?
Uh-huh.
Check it with me, see if it's correct, please. Wanted, I am interested in inspecting with a view toward leasing or buying a house with an octagonal mirror-paneled room or alcove, period. Location, size, and all other details of secondary importance, provided it has this one essential feature desired for reasons of a sentimental nature, period. Communicate Box L World Express giving exact details, period. Is that everything you want to say, sir?
Yes, I believe so.
How long you want it to run?
A week. Should hear something in that time, shouldn't I?
Should. Lady once advertised for an alligator that answered to the name of Lulu, and she got it in 4 days.
I guess alligators, answering to the name of Lulu, are more plentiful than houses with octagonal, mirrored, paneled rooms. I got some answers, but none of them are right. None of the houses fit the scene of the dream. Next day, Sunday, I was in my room.
Hiya, kid.
Hello, Cliff. What are you dressed for?
Well, matter of fact, Lil and I are going to take a ride out in the country for the day, and she packed a lunch for 3. Cold beer, ham, and turkey
Listen,
sandwiches.
I'm all right. I don't need fresh air jaunts to get rid of the devils, if that's the strategy you're trying to...
Oh, no, kid. You see, I got this new second-hand Chevy in exchange for my old second-hand Chevy, and I thought that maybe you'd like it.
In the end, I decided to go with them on their picnic. Cliff was right. There was no point sitting around brooding and waiting for something to happen. I might as well forget it for a few hours, if I could. After our picnic lunch, I was almost beginning to relax.
Have another sandwich, Cliff?
Oh, why?
I'll think of a reason later.
You have just talked me into it, my dear. Just toss it over, huh?
How about you, Vince?
If I had another sandwich, Lil, I'd never be able to move another muscle. Where are we, anyhow?
I don't know. Ask the pilot. He got us here.
So help me, I was flying blind.
Well, here's a weather report just came in, friends. Rain, and soon.
Well, how soon do you think, Vince?
Right now. Come on, get the stuff into the car.
Oh, I'm getting soaked.
Vince, you take the blanket, I got the baskets, huh?
Hurry up or we'll float back to town. Cliff, dear, I hate to be a pest, but the lightning frightens me. If you can't find your way back to the main road, can't you turn in somewhere and stop a while?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lil. It's hard to see through the rain.
Well, if you spot a house or a barn, please turn in. I'm scared.
Yeah, of course, honey. Yeah, if only I had some idea where we are. I can't see 10 feet ahead in this stuff.
There's a cutoff a little ways ahead. Around the next turn, if you take it, it'll lead us to a house with a big, wide porch. We can get in under there.
What? Well, how did you know that?
Were you ever up around here, these parts before?
No.
Well, then how did you...
I don't know.
Well, let's concentrate on driving instead of conversation. Have you seen any road signs?
No, Cliff, not a thing, yeah.
Are you getting us more tangled up than we already were, Vince?
No. Don't stop. Keep going. You'll come to it. 2 big stone lanterns. Turn the car left between them. I don't know how I knew that myself.
Oh, there they are. There they are. Well, turn, Cliff, like he told you.
Yeah.
Oh, look through the trees. There's a house back there. Oh, Vince was right. Oh, well, I'd be glad to get out of this storm. I'll stop as close to the entrance as possible, dear.
All right, honey.
Well, it's dry here, but I wish we could get in and away from that lightning. Oh, try the doorbell, Cliff.
Okay. Well, no one seems to answer.
There's a key under the window box with the geraniums.
Oh, he's kidding, but look anyway, Cliff.
Okay.
Oh, isn't that the funniest? What? I'd better put on this light so we can see where we're going.
Not that switch. That's the one to the porch. The one that controls the hole is on the other side.
He's right.
What is this, a rib? How do you know so much about this place anyway, Vin?
Oh, just a lucky guess on his part.
Good afternoon.
Cliff.
Anybody home?
Don't do that.
He's cold, Cliff. He's shaking.
Yeah.
I was shaking.
Do you see him?
And I was closed.
He's acting so
But
nervous.
I was dripping with perspiration. I didn't know what made me say those things about the road and the key and the light switches, but they came out as though I had been here before. I was scared.
Wait for the summer, I guess, but it's funny they'd leave it unlocked like that. With that electricity still unconnected. Oh, here being a detective comes in handy, Cliff. We shouldn't get in trouble walking in like this. Well, as long as we're here, I don't think anybody would mind if we made some coffee. I'd love some. How about you, Cliff?
Sure, go ahead.
I couldn't look at Cliff, though I felt his eyes burning a hole in the back of my neck. Lil went into the kitchen, and I began to wander around nervously. I found a bedroom, and then a 2-entrance bath. I went out by the second entrance, and I was in another bedroom. Through the doorway, across the room, I could see myself. My face was whiter than my shirt, and my body was quivering. I shifted, came closer, dying a little, wavering as I advanced. 2 of me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was across the threshold now, and the door, brought around from its position flat against the outside wall, pulled in after me, flashed the 8th image of myself on its mirror-back surface, of myself and Cliff. No!
What's the matter, Vince?
Cliff, this is the place. This is the place.
Yeah. Now wipe off your forehead. You're wringing wet.
Have you got it?
I got it.
Try this one first.
That's a fake.
What are you doing up there?
Keep it downstairs a minute.
Don't come up, honey. Vince is taking his pants off to dry them.
Well, I'm hungry. I'll see if there's something around for sandwiches.
Look. It's a safe cut open.
That's what he was crouched before that night when he seemed to be just like a puddle on the floor. He must have had a blowtorch down there on the floor in front of him. That's what made the bluish light and made her face stand out in the reflection like a mask. And that door that you haven't opened yet, it's the one I propped him up in. No, don't, not right away. Just give me a minute longer. Just give me a chance to get... Empty.
But there's blood on the back wall and the floor. Dry cake blood.
Cliff.
Vince. All right, kid. Let's hear about another dream.
In tonight's full hour of suspense, Eddie Bracken appears as Vince in Nightmare by William Irish. Tonight's study in Suspense. In just a moment, we will return with Act Two of Suspense.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
From 77 years ago, March 13th, 1948, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The conclusion follows these very important messages.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know that for only $10 you can supplement the food rations of a family of 4 for a whole month? Just send that $10 to CARE, spelled C-A-R-E, New York. CARE guarantees delivery of its packages to 11 different countries in Europe, as well as to India, Israel, and Japan. Don't forget to include your name and address and the name and address of the family you want to receive the CARE package, because CARE is a person-to-person, international goodwill service.
And while that particular drive isn't going on, CARE is still active today. Visit care.org to find out more. That's care.org. And now let's get back to Suspense. This goes back to March 13th, 1948. That is 77 years ago today. Eddie Bracken and William Conrad in Nightmare.
And now, back to our Hollywood soundstage and to our producer, Mr. Robert Montgomery, for Act Two of Nightmare, starring Eddie Bracken, in a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
It had all belonged to Vince until now. A wild dream heightened by young imagination. It was his alone. Awful as it was, it all belonged to him. But he had shared his nightmare with Cliff, and Cliff is a detective. He'd never once believed Vince. He told him he was cockeyed, that it couldn't be true. But there they are, the two of them, in a deserted house with which Vince seems quite familiar, although he swears he's never been there. And they face each other in a room paneled with 8 mirrors, just like the room in Vince's nightmare.
I don't know what Cliff would have done up there in the mirrored alcove, but I blessed my sister when she called us down for coffee. Cliff and I went through the motions of eating with Lil and then waited tensely until she dozed off in the living room, tired out of the excitement of the storm. Then Cliff pushed me back into the kitchen and shut the door. He gave me a look that belonged in a police station basement and lit a cigarette. He didn't offer me one. Policemen don't with their suspects. He bounced the match down, then he shoved his hands deep in his pockets.
Now make it short and make it quick and leave Freud out of it.
You think I lied, don't you?
You knew which cutoff to take that would get us here from a dream, didn't you? You knew about the stone lanterns at the entrance from a dream, didn't you? You knew where the key to the front door was cached from a dream. You knew which was the front porch switch and which was the hall from a dream. Well, you know what I'd do to you if you weren't Lil's brother? I'd push your lying face right through the back of your head.
Oh, Cliff!
You came to me for help, didn't you? But you didn't have guts enough to come clean. I can respect a guy no matter what he's done if he'll own up to it, make a clean breast of it. I can even understand and make allowances for a guy that'll deny it flatly, lie about it. That's only human nature. But a guy that'll come to somebody trading on the fact that he's married to his sister and he knows he'll give him an ear, making a fool out of him, like you did me. Well, I've got no use for him. He's low and lousy and no good. Look, I found this key in my pocket when I got up this morning. How did it get there? Look, I found this button. Well, some dream, wasn't it, all right? Well, the dream's over and baby's awake now. And we're going to start in from scratch, right here in this place, you and me, and I'm going to get the facts out of you. Whether they go any further than me or not, that's my business, but at least I'm going to get them.
Don't hit me, Cliff. Please.
Now, what were you doing at that place? Huh? What brought you here?
I was never here before. I never saw it until I came here today with you and Lil.
Who was the guy you did it to? What was his name?
I don't know, I tell you. I don't know.
Are you going to answer me, Vince? You going to answer me?
I can't. You're asking me things I can't.
Answer me when I ask you a question.
I can't. I don't know. I don't know.
You're not going to get away with this, kid. I've handled closed-mouthed guys before, and
I don't use this gun much, but I know what to do with it.
Who are you?
What you two doing in here?
We came in out of the rain. Does that suit you?
Might. Might not. Identify yourselves. And hurry up about it.
Look inside the wallet.
Where you going?
For a drink of water.
Left tap. Right one's hot water.
Thanks.
Cliff Dodge, Homicide Squad. Glad to know you, Dodge.
How about a little identifying yourself?
Well, I'm a deputy attached to the sheriff's office. Detailed to keep eye on this place. See my badge? I was to home having a little supper and... Hey, how'd you get in? Thought I had it all locked up safe and sound.
The key was bedded in a flower box on the porch.
'Twas, huh? Must be a spare then. Funny. We never knew there was a second one ourselves.
Why should this house be your particular concern?
Was a murder uncovered in it last week?
There was? Well, I'd like to hear about it. All about it.
We all sat down. I saw the deputy was enjoying this, talking shop with a big city detective. Cliff listened while he kept an eye on me.
Well, this house belonged to a wealthy couple named Fleming. Husband was away on business in South America when it happened. In fact, we ain't been able to reach him to notify him yet. Wife was a purty little thing.
Was?
Yep, real purty. Flirty, too. Used to fool around with a friend of her husband's named Ayers, Dan Ayers. Well, that morning, the milkman saw a bundle of rags by the side of the road not far from here. 'Twas little Miss Fleming, all covered with dew and leaves and twigs.
Dead?
Dying. She must have dragged herself along the ground for hours, too weak to yell for help. Milkman took her to the hospital. Both legs broken, skull fracture, internal injuries.
Oh, no.
Hey, kind of gets this young feller, don't it? Stuff's new to him, guess.
What was it? Who did it to the woman?
Dan Ayers' car. We found it with blood and hairs on the tires and fenders, abandoned under some trees. At the same time, Wagoner, that's my chief, he found the safe in this house busted and looted. It's in a 8-sided mirrored room they got on the floor above. I'll take you up and show you afterwards.
Oh.
Cut it up, Vince.
Why don't he go outside if this gets him?
I want him in here with us. He should get used to this.
Well, suit yourself. Well, finding that safe, give us a case. Ayers knew Fleming kept lots of dough in that safe. Knew he went away on business trips. This last time, Ayers come up here, went to work on the safe, and got caught by Mrs. Fleming. She takes one look and starts running for town to get help.
Why didn't she use the telephone?
'Cause this warn't no simple robbery. She must have seen by the look on his face that he'd kill her, so she run for her life. He comes down, gets into his car, catches up with her, and runs her down, drives right over. He thinks she's dead and takes off.
You say he drove the car right over
Don't
her?
know how to drive. I don't know how to drive. Cliff knew it, too. His expression changed, and he pushed his pack of cigarettes over to me.
Have a smoke, kid. It'll do you good.
Thanks.
Well, we sent out a general alarm for Ayers, but at 5 that afternoon, Mrs. Fleming regained consciousness for a short time. Wagoner, my chief, was there, and he heard her say, "Is Dan all right? He didn't kill Dan, did he?" Well, that was enough to send us hot-footing right back to the house, and we found Ayers' dead body.
No.
He'd been stabbed in the back with some kind of a drill, dead since the night before. Mrs. Fleming died about 8 that evening. There went our case.
Did you get anything on the real killer?
Well, practically everything but the guy himself. She was right in the alcove when it happened, saw the killer by the torchlight, and lasted long enough to give us a complete description. All the dope is over at my chief's office.
Well, let's go over there. Give it the once-over. Come on, Vince, you too. I'll leave a note for Lil.
Look, Cliff,
Come on, Vince. I know this is out of your line, but you better come anyhow.
Glad you come over, Mr. Dodge. You too, Mr. Hardy.
I'm interested in hearing the description of the killer.
Well, it's pretty complete. I got it from Mrs. Fleming. Here's a transcription of my whole interview with her at the hospital. Had a stenographer take it down at her bedside.
He was one of those efficient young sheriffs, and he droned on and on. My clothes became drenched with perspiration, and my stomach was quivering again.
Seal there's body. Well, here's what you want, Dodge. Killer was about 25 and skinny. Cheekbones stood out, cast shadows in the torchlight as it wavered on his face.
They must be looking at me. I covered my cheeks with my hands and stared down at the floor. My face was burning under my fingers.
He had light brown hair. She even remembered that. It was parted low on the left side. Take a woman to notice a thing like that, even at such a moment. And an unusually long forelock that kept falling in front of his face.
My hand went up a little higher and brushed mine back. It only fell down again like it always did.
His eyes were fixed and glassy, as though he was mentally unbalanced. He had on a knitted sweater. It was darned up in the neckline in a different colored yarn.
Lil made it for me, and I'd burned it with a cigarette. She fixed it up the best way she could, and Cliff knew about it.
Yeah, took us hours to get, but that's it.
You got pictures of Mrs. Fleming and Ayers?
Death photographs. Care to see them?
Yeah, let's have a look.
I got weaker and dizzy as they handed the pictures around. I didn't look at them, but I saw Cliff distract the other men's attention long enough to slip them on top of the file case.
Well, I guess
Next thing I knew, we were getting ready to put the lights out and leave.
Coming, Vince?
Yeah.
I'll run you folks back to the house. It's on my way home.
Well, Sheriff, thank you very much for... Oh, say, Vince, run back a minute and see if I left my cigarettes in Mr. Wagner's office, huh?
Sure.
Sheriff, I want you and the deputy to look me up the next time.
His voice dwindled behind me, and I was in the darkened office again, alone. I knew what I'd been sent back for. He wanted me to see those pictures. I switched on the lights. They were on the file case. I took them in my hands and I stared at them.
Well, out like a light.
Now, what did it, you suppose? The pictures?
He's not well. He's under treatment by a doctor right now. He gets these dizzy spells now and then. That's all it is. Here you are, kid. Drink this water.
Yes.
Now, shut up and don't say anything. You'll be all right. I'm sorry for all the trouble we've caused.
Perfectly all right. Come back anytime.
That was a place I never wanted to go back to. Cliff and I didn't say much as the deputy drove us to the house. We picked up Lil and started back to town.
I think you've got a nerve, Cliff, Dodge.
We couldn't talk them either, because Lil was blazing saw at Cliff and leaving her alone, laced into him. And I think for once he was grateful. Kept him from thinking too steadily about me. She only quit when we were near my place and she saw me holding my head.
What's the matter, Vince? Don't you feel well?
The outing was a little bit too strenuous for him.
No wonder the way you drive.
Yeah? Well, I got us here, didn't I?
Great. I'll see what I can do about having you decorated for it.
I'll go up with Vince a minute.
No, it's all right. I'm
coming up with you, Vince.
He closed the door to my room behind us and then turned to me. He spoke low and very undramatically. No fireworks.
Lil's waiting downstairs. I'm going to take her home first before I do anything. I love Lil. It's bad enough what this is going to do to her when she finds out. I'm going to see she gets at least one good night's sleep before she does.
Cliff.
Run out. That's the best thing you can do. Meet your finish on the hoof somewhere else where your sister and I don't have to see it happen. And if you're still here when I come back, I'm going to arrest you for the murder of Dan Ayers and Dorothy Fleming. I don't have to ask you if you killed those two people. You fainted dead on the floor when you saw their pictures. Now take my advice and don't be here when I get back. I'll turn in my information at my own precinct house and they can pass it on to Wagner. Then I'll hand over my own badge in the morning.
Cliff, I'm frightened.
Killers always are. Afterwards. Don't forget you got a half hour.
I didn't move for about half the time he'd given me. Then my hand went to my cheek as it had in the sheriff's office, and my face felt bristly. Without thinking, I went into the bathroom and turned on the warm water tap. I took my cream blade holder from the cabinet, not a sheer reflex of habit, and I realized I didn't need the cream and the holder, and I put them back. I took the razor in my hand. I was seeing black spots in front of my eyes when he tried to get in the door. I tried to keep very quiet so he'd think I'd lammed and go away.
Vince!
Why didn't he go away? I could barely stand up.
Open the door, Vince, or I'll shoot the lock away.
I held my breath for a second, and then I had no strength left.
Vince.
You could have saved yourself the trip back, Cliff. They didn't keep me at the hospital, just took stitches in my wrist and told me to go home and take it easy for a while. I hadn't been able to do even that right. It was 4 a.m. when we got back to my room. Cliff stood over me while I undressed and got into bed.
Now remember, just take it easy.
What about the arrest? Postponed?
Canceled. I gave you your chance to run out and you didn't take it. As a matter of fact, I sent Lil home alone. I've been downstairs watching the street door the whole time. Yeah, when a guy's willing to let the life run out of his veins, there must be something to his story. You don't die to back up lies. I think you've been telling the truth, to the best of your knowledge.
I'm tired. Licked. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Well, I think I better stick with you tonight anyway.
It's all right. I won't try it again. Yeah, there's blood on the floor. You sure picked a messy way. I did think of gas. This hotel doesn't have it.
If more houses had no gas, there'd be fewer...
Sure. All the modern conveniences. But electricity is undependable, too. Lights go out. Happened to a feller in the next room one night. And he had to use a candle. It was the same night that I had the dream.
How did you know he had to use a candle? Were you in there at the time?
No, he rapped and stuck his head in my door for a minute. Wanted to know if the power had failed all over. You know how people are in little hotels like this.
Why'd he have to do that? Couldn't he tell by the hall?
All lights go out at 11:30. Guess it was after that.
Well, that's still no reason why he should bust in on you. Look, I'd like to hear the rest of this.
There isn't any rest. I told you all there is to it.
That's what you think. Just watch what I can get out of it.
He wouldn't let me go to sleep. I had to tell him about the man next door who moved in a week or so before the night of the dream. That particular night I had been reading in bed. And as I put down the lights and about ready to doze off, he knocked. Come in. He was holding the candle right in front of his face between his eyes, and in the darkness I had to stare at the candlelight and his eyes behind it. He explained about the lights, and he...
Please excuse me for intruding. You must be tired. Very tired. You look so sleepy.
No,
I know.
It's...
You want to sleep. I shouldn't have come. You can sleep now. Sleep well. Your eyes are so heavy. You look so tired.
And that's all there was to it. He left and I went to sleep.
Did you hear him shut the door?
Well, I suppose
I don't
so.
mean suppose. I mean, did you actually hear the door shut? Think about it, kid. This is important.
I don't remember.
Well, another thing, then. Did you ever have any conversation with him other than hello and goodbye?
Well, he offered me some cough drops several times, and I told him I didn't like him. But once going down in the elevator, he absolutely insisted that I take one. So I did.
Testing willpower.
What?
Never mind. I don't want to frighten you right now. Look, you got some sleep, kid. You're a week after what you tried to do tonight.
Where are you going? I thought you were staying here tonight.
I'm going back to the Fleming house and to Wagner's headquarters, too, while I'm at it.
Now?
Yeah.
You're going all the way back up there at this hour of the morning?
And, Vince, don't give up yet. We'll find a way out without shortcuts, like you tried tonight.
I didn't wake until noon, but I didn't dare leave the room for a cup of coffee. I didn't want to miss Cliff when he got back. About 2, there was a knock on the door, and I almost fell over in my rush to open it. Cliff, Oh, excuse me,
Sure, mister. Say, are you Vincent Hardy?
Yes.
Well, I think I got what you want.
What I want?
Yeah, my Uncle Henry built it. He was crazy. It's got a room with 8 sides.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not in the market for that house any longer.
You ain't?
No.
Oh, you're like Uncle Henry, too, huh? He would have liked you. Well, goodbye.
Cliff finally showed up around 3. He looked terrible. He hadn't slept all night. He showed me a picture he'd brought.
You know this guy, Vince?
This guy? Well, the glasses are missing, and the mustache, and the hair isn't rumpled. But Cliff,
Yeah?
this is the guy from next door. Where'd you get this picture?
From Wagner. It's Mrs. Fleming's husband.
They're both the same fellow?
Right. But there's no out in it for you. Now get that straight, kid. I checked the fingerprints Wagner got. They're yours. You and nobody but you went into the Fleming house, killed Ayers, and hid his body in the closet.
No.
But you didn't kill Dorothy Fleming because you can't drive. Now, somebody else did that in Ayers' car. Somebody who brought you up there and was waiting for you at a safe distance.
But why didn't I know I was doing?
Well, that'll come later. What we have to do now is prove that the circumstance of the drink could have happened. Get it down on record officially. It isn't perfect, but it's the best we can do.
Well, what do you...
I think it's better if you don't know too much. A telegram addressed to Mrs. Fleming was received from her husband while I was up there. He's arriving back from South America today.
Where are we going?
Where is the place you'd least rather go of all places right now?
That room. That house.
I'm sorry, kid, but that's the place you're going to have to go back to and stay in alone tonight, if you ever want to get out from under the shadows again. Now, what do you say? Shall we make the try?
Okay. I'm ready. I'd been sitting on the floor outside the mirrored alcove to rest when I heard him come in. He didn't come right up. I suppose he stopped to put his things away. Then I heard him tap the keys of the piano downstairs. Then I heard his footsteps coming, and I pushed myself backwards along the floor into the alcove. My heart was pounding so hard I had to keep my mouth open. He was in the bedroom, opening suitcases, looking for things. I pushed myself into the closet where the body had been, and in a moment, he walked into the alcove and put on the lights. I could see him through the keyhole as he walked past the door. Then he stood still, turning to go. This was the time. Now. I held the gun tight and pushed the door open soundlessly. He heard me as I stepped into the room and whirled around. I wanted to yell at the top of my lungs at him. But I kept my lips together. Cliff had drilled me carefully on how I should act, what I should say. He'd particularly warned me to make Fleming talk first.
How did you get here?
You showed me the way, didn't you?
You remembered coming here?
Didn't think I would, did you?
You couldn't have.
Then how did I come back again? You explain it.
How long have you been in here, like this?
Since after dark. I got in before you came home.
What'd you bring with you?
Nobody. Just this, a .44 automatic. That's all the company I wanted with you.
Exactly how much do you remember?
Much more than you think.
You remember the drive up? You couldn't have. I told you to remember it only as a dream. You had the look.
What look? I was holding a thumbtack pressed into the palm of each hand the whole way.
Then why did you do everything that you were directed to do so passively?
I thought there might be something in it for me later if anyone went to all that trouble.
You purposely faked? I can't believe it. You didn't even draw back, show a sign when I let you out of the car. Put the knife in your hand, sent you on towards the house, told you how to get in, what to do. You mean you went ahead unconsciously?
Sure, I figured you'd pay me off afterwards.
Oh. Well, what went wrong inside?
Well, I accidentally dropped the knife you gave me. Ayers jumped me in the alcove. In the darkness, your wife put a drill into my hand instead of his. And I killed him in self-defense.
Yes. And she ran out. I had to go after her and stop her myself. I got her with Ayers' car. She never even saw me.
That's what I wanted to know.
Are you crazy? You must have known.
No, I tricked you. You had me hypnotized that night, all right. But you've just convicted yourself out of your own mouth to me. I don't want to be paid off. You picked someone with a weak willpower, maybe, but strong scruples. I was an honest man. You made me commit murder. I can't clear myself in the eyes of the law ever. But you're going to pay for doing that to me now. This way.
Wait. Don't do that. That won't help you any.
You shouldn't have left me alone. That was your mistake. Here you go, Fleming.
Wait 1 minute more. Just a minute. Now look. Look at me. Look at my eyes.
Clip had warned me to be careful, but I wasn't careful enough. I couldn't seem to help myself. I just glanced at him. Our eyes met, and suddenly mine couldn't get away anymore, as though they were hit by glue. A sort of torpor turned me into wax. But I made an effort to do one more thing. It came out as a single sentence. Fleming, I'm going to shoot you.
No. You're tired. You don't want to shoot anybody. You're tired. The gun's too heavy for you. Why do you want to hold that heavy thing? That's right. You're tired. Tired.
Why, this'll stand up in any court. There's enough evidence on this wire recorder to send Fleming to the electric chair.
Listen.
Huh?
What's all that mumbling? I can't quite make out what this... Hey, we'd better get up there. Come on.
Hey, Fleming must be trying to do...
Holy smokes, he's getting away. Come on.
There's a pencil and paper in the glove compartment. Take them out. Good. Now write what I tell you. Start. I'm wanted for the murder of those two people at the Fleming house. They're bound to get me sooner or later. And I have no chance. I see no other way but this. Now, sign your name. Vincent Hardy. Now, get out of the car quickly and take the chain attached to that anchor. Over there. On your right, over there. Go ahead. That's right. Now, tie it around your stomach and legs and pick up the anchor. Yes, that's it. Carry it in your hands. Yes, very good. Oh, someone coming. Now then, walk. Walk to the end of the dock. Hurry, you fool, and throw the anchor into the lake. Go ahead. Hurry. Goodbye, Vincent.
I knew what I was doing was wrong. I fought against it as hard as I could. And when I got to the end of the dock, I just threw the anchor into the lake and my body went tumbling.
Well, there he is. He's all right now. Did you get Fleming?
Fleming's dead, Mr. Dodge. Car hit a tree and folded up like an accordion.
Vince would be gone, too, if I'd dosed another minute in that cellar.
Yeah, don't feel bad. You did all right by the boy. You went in after him like a veteran lifeguard. Say, if you can take care of him, Mr. Dodge, I want to get these recordings into my safe at the office and send some boys out to pick up Fleming in that car.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Sheriff. Vince will be all right.
Was he telling the truth, Cliff?
Yeah. This Fleming used to be a vaudeville hypnotist. Tried using his old act to get rid of heirs and his own wife. That will be cleared because we have proof that you were not responsible for your acts while under the hypnosis.
Thanks, Cliff.
But you'll have to appear in court and stand charges.
I will.
You scared, kid?
Sort of.
Yeah, you'll be all right. I'll be standing there next to you the whole time. Well, come on now, let's go.
This is Robert Montgomery. Our congratulations and thanks to Eddie Bracken and William Conrad for 2 fine performances in Nightmare. Next week, for Suspense, we treat the subject of weather in a locale that is famous and infamous for its weather, England. And in order to do justice to the ill-famed atmospheric conditions which often shroud this island, we shall present an hour of suspense divided into 2 separate half-hour dramas. 2 select studies with 2 elements in common, dramatic weather and dramatic suspense. Taken one at a time, these plays are singular triumphs. Put them together, and, well, I can promise you a deadly combination next week, when with Wet Saturday by John Collier and August Heat by W.F. Harvey, we again hope to keep you in suspense. Good night.
Mr. Montgomery may currently be seen in the Universal International production Ride the Pink Horse. Mr. Bracken will soon be seen in his forthcoming production 750 Smith. Nightmare by William Irish was adapted for radio by Alfred Palka, directed by Anton M. Leader, and produced by Robert Montgomery. Lud Gluskin is our musical director and conductor, and Lucien Marowek composes the original scores. Next week, hear 2 great shows, Wet Saturday and August Heat, on radio's outstanding theater of thrills, 1 hour of
Suspense.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
A good hour of suspense. Eddie Bracken, William Conrad, Nightmare from 77 years ago, March 13th, 1948, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Comedy on Friday, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, Marie Wilson and My Friend Irma, Harold Perry in a tax episode of The Great Gildersleeve from 1943, and another tax episode of The Harold Perry Show from 1951, both dealing with taxes. Yes, it's that time of year. At least it was then. Back in the 40s, March 15th was tax day. And we'll wrap it all up with another episode of Claudia. You can find all of our shows and more information at classicradio.stream. We'll have drama on Saturday with Big Town, Mr. District Attorney, Dragnet, Quiet Please. And then on Sunday, comedy with William Bendix in The Life of Riley, Jack Benny, and the IRS pays him a visit, Fibber McGee and Molly, and Amos and Andy on Sunday. Monday, we'll have George and Gracie, A Day in the Life of Dennis Day, Fred Allen, and the CBS Radio Workshop. And then we'll have the next day, The Sealed Book, Boston Blackie, Dangerous Assignment, and I Was a Communist for the FBI. That's all straight ahead for the next few days here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Next, though, an hour-long presentation of the Lux Radio Theater and Little Women.
This is Peter Halas. As senior editor of the Hungarian desk at Radio Free Europe, I write and edit material destined for an audience still living behind barbed wire. I know those people, for I was one of them. I escaped to freedom in 1956, but there are millions still in captivity. Radio Free Europe keeps them in touch with the world outside. Keep RFE on the air with contributions to Crusade for Freedom.
Now we go to the movies. The Lux Radio Theater, 75 years ago, March 13th, 1950. Here's the first part of Little Women, starring June Allyson and Peter Lawford.
Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Toilet Soap, bring you the Lux Radio Theater, starring June Allyson, Peter Lawford, Margaret O'Brien, and Janet Leigh in Little Women. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Little Women is one of the most enjoyable stories ever written. It has all the endearing qualities that make for real drama, laughter, romance, and tears. And never has the story been presented more expertly or with greater artistry than in the recent picture from the studios of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Tonight's play is based on this picture, and we have 4 of the original stars. First, June Allyson, whose warmth and sincerity have made her an outstanding attraction. Peter Lawford, with all his charm and talent. Margaret O'Brien in one of her most appealing roles. And lovely and gracious Janet Leigh, to complete one of the greatest casts we've ever presented. Little Women is the story of the March sisters and their romances. 4 girls whose loves and ambitions are completely different, but who are bound together by happy family ties. A story beloved by 3 generations of Americans. You know, every day we receive letters from modern Little Women telling us that Lux Toilet Soap is the complexion care in their homes. Mothers set the example and daughters follow. A good rule where Lux complexions are concerned. The curtain rises on the home of our Little Women, starring June Allyson as the unforgettable Jo, Peter Lawford as Laurie, Margaret O'Brien as Beth, and Janet Leigh as Meg, who tells our story.
We were 4 sisters, Amy, Jo, Beth, and I shall start our story during that winter of 1864 when Papa was still away at war. What a miserable Christmas we all thought. How happy a Christmas it really was.
Well, at least we have a Christmas tree, Amy, and I think it's beautiful.
Christmas won't be Christmas, Beth, not without presents. Oh, it's dreadful to be poor. I especially feel it because I'm the eldest, and I can remember when we used to be rich.
We're better off than a lot of people, Meg. Orphans, for instance. We have Father and Mommy and each other.
But we haven't got Father, Beth, and probably won't have him for a long time.
But, Jo, the men in the army are having such a terrible winter. Mommy's right. We have to make sacrifices.
Only I'm tired making over these same dresses year after year.
Well, I don't think any of you suffer as I do. You don't have to go to school with impertinent girls who label your father just because he's poor.
Oh, Amy, if you mean libel, then say so. And stop talking about labels as if Papa was a pickle bottle.
Well, you needn't be so satirical about it, Jo. It's proper to use good words and improve one's vocabulary.
Vocabulary? Christopher Columbus. Jo, don't use slang words.
Oh, I just detest rude, unladylike young ladies.
And I hate affected snips.
Birds in their little nests agree.
Oh, I'll never get over my disappointment at not being a boy. Look at me. Dying, simply dying to go and fight at Father's side. And here I am sitting and knitting like a poky old woman.
Poor Jo.
Oh, thank you, Miss Beth. But I don't need any pity. Because someday I'll be a famous writer and make my fortune. Oh, not that I'll forget about my sisters. You'll all ride around in fine carriages. And you, my Beth, you will have a new piano. And you, Meg, you'll have 10 dozen dresses and satin slippers and red-headed boys to dance with.
I shall like that. I thank you.
So there's no use fretting now. I'll get famous just as soon as I can. Meanwhile, let's rehearse the play.
Meanwhile, it's time for tea. Come, girls, help me with the tray.
Don't we ever have coffee anymore, Hannah?
Coffee is scarce and dear. And it seems to me you'd be...
What is it, Hannah?
Someone's looking in this room.
What?
Keep away from the window.
But, Hannah, who is it?
That Lawrence boy.
Where? Where is he?
Next door in the Lawrence house where he belongs. Only he does not belong at their parlor window, staring into our parlor window.
But what Lawrence boy?
Mr. Lawrence's grandson, of course.
Ha! I didn't know the old fusspot had a grandson.
Well, he just came home. First, he ran away from college.
Oh, that's the bravest thing I've ever heard of.
And when they found him, there he was, wounded, in an army hospital. He'd lied about his age and enlisted.
How perfectly splendid. I should like to do the same.
Joe, what are you doing?
Well, if he can look out of his window at us, I can look out of ours at him.
Josephine March.
Oh, he's still there. Gee, I'm glad he's a boy. I certainly would like to know a boy for a change and have a little fun.
Oh, how can you say such things?
I wonder how I could get to know him.
Oh, Joe, you're disgracing us.
Hello.
Why, that dreadful boy. He's waving at me. Marmee didn't come home until late that afternoon. She'd been in the village helping poor Mrs. Hummel. As soon as Beth had brought her chair up to the fire, I told Marmee my big news.
News, Meg? What news, dear?
I saw Mrs. King about the position, Marmee, and she's going to take me, $4 a week.
Meg, I'm proud of you.
Oh, they have a beautiful house, Marmee, and the children are sweet. I won't mind working at all. Was there any mail in the village, Marmee? A letter from Father?
You don't think he'd forget to write us at Christmas, do you? Amy, dear, the letter's in my muff.
A letter from Father.
He sent you all a little Christmas message.
How do you do?
Aunt Marge.
Oh, Merry Christmas, Aunt Marge.
How nice of you to come.
Yes, it was nice of me to come. Here, Christmas remembrance for each of you. Meg.
Thank you, Aunt Marge.
Joe.
Thank you, Aunt Marge.
Amy.
Thank you, Aunt Marge.
Beth.
Thank you, Aunt Marge.
When I was a girl, my aunts didn't have to come to me.
Oh, we plan to visit you tomorrow, Aunt Marge.
One never knows if there will be a tomorrow. Well, have you heard from that foolish father of yours, waltzing away to war and leaving others to care for his family?
We're very proud of Father, Aunt Marge, and there's nobody looking out for us.
Joe.
Hoity-toity. If your father'd listened to me, young ladies, you'd be better off today. I begged him not to invest his money with that swindler. If I told him once,
Forgive me, Aunt Marge, but that was years ago and has nothing to do with now. Besides, it was our money that got lost, not yours.
Don't be impertinent, miss. Oh, it's a waste of time to talk. Nobody listens to me anyhow. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, thank you. Aunt Marge, I'll walk out to your sleigh with you.
And catch a death of cold while you're about it.
Aunt Marge, you still want me to work for you, don't you?
Fine time to ask me.
Well, I'd like to be your companion.
A companion should be companionable, young woman.
Yeah, I will be, I promise. I am willing to bury the hatchet.
Very well, then. Come over after the holidays. And bring an apron.
Hi, thank you, Addie. Merry Christmas. For all her scolding, Aunt March had given each of us a new, shining silver dollar. Supper would have to wait that night as we dashed off to the village store. And later, after we wrapped the presents we were giving to ourselves, Marmee took out the letter that had come from Papa.
And give my girls my love and a kiss. Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find my best comfort in their affection at all times. I know they will remember to be loving children to you, will work diligently so that these hard times need not be wasted, and that when I return, I may be fonder and prouder than ever of my little women. How long this sad war will last?
Mrs. March, ma'am.
Yes, Hannah.
A message from poor Mrs. Hummel, ma'am. She wants to know how soon can you come.
Right away. Amy, get my boots, dear. My wraps, Joe. Good night, my children.
Good night, Mom.
Don't wait up for me. I may be late.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
A fine Christmas Eve. Papa far away and Marmee out taking care of sick people.
And our presents. They look so lonesome under the tree.
And there's nothing for Marmee. Nothing. And she needs a new pair of slippers.
Well, I'm the man in the family while Papa's away, so I'll supply the slippers.
But how? Our money's all spent.
Well, I bought a book. I'll take it back.
But I thought of the slippers first, Joe.
So you did, Beth. Well, then, I'll buy her army shoes, the very best to be had. And I'll get her a nice pair of gloves. Pink ones.
A little bottle of cologne for me. Both Marmee and I just love cologne.
Oh, but won't the stores be closed? Who cares? Come on, me hearties. We'll storm the citadel. It was long past midnight when Marmee returned. We were huddled at the top of the stairs. We couldn't see her as she stopped by the Christmas tree, but we knew that she had found our presents.
But why is she crying? I can hear Marmee and she's crying.
Doesn't she like our presents? Come on now. Back to bed before she sees us.
Why is she crying, Meg?
Because she loves us, little Beth. And love and tears live very close together. Come on now. Christopher Columbus. What a breakfast. Look, kidney pie and sausage. Popovers and coffee.
And everything.
Merry Christmas, girls.
Oh, Merry Christmas, Hannah. Hannah, you do beat the Dutch.
Oh, I can remember when I served a breakfast like this every day.
We must have been enormously rich.
Well, kindly pass the popovers, Meg. Now wait for Marmee, Amy.
Your mom's took breakfast and gone. She said she'll meet you all in church.
Gone?
Back to the Hummels. The baby finally come early this morning.
Another baby?
One after another. 6 children, half frozen, huddled in one bed, she said. Your mom took her breakfast to them.
I'm not hungry either.
Oh, Beth.
I'm not hungry.
But people are starving everywhere every day. Well, if you're going to let that worry you, you'll never eat at all. I try not to think about it. Those people are far away, Megan. We don't know them. But the Hummels are near, and we do know them.
You're not thinking of giving our breakfast to the Hummels. Yes, we are, aren't we, Joe?
Oh, no. You couldn't think of a thing like that. No. Poor, hungry Amy. A few moments later, as we passed by the Lawrence mansion, loaded with food for the Hummels, there he was, Mr. Lawrence's grandson, and another young man.
Aren't you rather loaded down, madam? May I help you?
Oh, no, thank you, sir.
Josephine, must you lag so?
Well, just a minute. You're his grandson, aren't you? Mr. Lawrence's.
Why, yes, I am. I'm Theodore Lawrence, and this is my friend John Brooke.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I'm Joe March, and I'd like you to meet my sisters, only I guess they're too far up the road.
Oh, what a pity.
Oh, we know all about you, you know. About how you ran away to join the army. Oh, and I'd have done the same in your place. And how you were both in the same regiment, which is splendid, I think. Simply splendid.
Oh, we're pleased, Miss March. Simply pleased.
Josephine, come on. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss March.
Goodbye, Miss March.
Really, Joe, I must say, really.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
What will they think?
Stopping to talk and we hadn't met them properly. Well, you weren't very friendly. You didn't even say, how do you do? I don't like the way that man stared at me. What man? Oh, Mr. Brooke? I didn't notice. Well, I did. And he's still looking. Who? Mr. Brooke. Don't look back. Oh, pooh. Bye. That was a big morning in our lives, surrendering our breakfast to the Hummel children and meeting young Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Brooke. The next afternoon, Joe was out on the walk shoveling snow.
Hello?
Hello. Hustle yourself out here and help me.
I can't. I have the quinsy.
Oh, what a shame.
Oh, it isn't contagious. I can have visitors, but I don't know anyone, though.
Well, you know me.
Well, would you care to come over and keep me company?
Well, I'll speak to my mother, Mr. Lawrence. You may expect me, though.
Thank you.
Well, here I am, Mr. Lawrence. And I brought you some blamage. It's soft and will slide down easily. Quinsy, huh? Got some flannel around your throat?
Oh, yes, you see. And thanks for the blamage.
Well, I've come to entertain you. I'll read aloud and you can listen. I do love to read aloud.
Well, I'd rather just talk, if you don't mind. Won't you sit by the fire?
Oh, thank you. I love to talk, too. Christopher Columbus.
What's the matter?
Well, this room. What richness. Oh, I call this splendor. That's what I call it, splendor. Mr. Theodore Lawrence, you should be the happiest creature alive.
Well, it's just a room to me, and it certainly doesn't make me happy. Some tea, Miss March? How many lumps?
1, please. 3. Now, do tell me all about yourself. Oh, of course, I know all about your school and the army. But before that, what?
Well, I used to live in Europe with my parents before they died.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to Europe, too, you know.
Oh, really? When?
Oh, well, I don't know exactly. You see, my Aunt March, I've decided to work for her as companion. Oh, and what a nervous, fidgety soul she is, too. Well, anyway, my Aunt March has rheumatism, and the doctor thought that baths... Oh, not that she hasn't got a bath. She has a very nice bath.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any baths while you were there, Mr. Lawrence? I mean, for your rheumatism.
I haven't got rheumatism.
Oh, well, neither have I. But you see, I figured that baths wouldn't do me any harm. That is to say, while I was there, because I've always wanted to go to Europe. Oh, not for the baths, of course. Not at all, but for my writing. Mm-hmm. It's so good for writers. You see, Aunt March... Oh, but you don't know Aunt March. What were you going to say, Mr. Lawrence?
Well, it was so long ago, I've forgotten. But I'm not Mr. Lawrence. I'm Laurie.
Oh, well. Laurie. How are you getting along with your grandfather, Laurie?
Oh, fine. Once I got used to him. Isn't he a holy terror?
Ha! You should see my Aunt March.
This blancmange looks too good to eat.
Oh, it isn't. Meg made it. She's the oldest.
Oh, she is? You know, John and I were wondering.
Why should he wonder?
Well, he seems quite taken by your sister's beauty, and, he wondered if there was anybody... Oh, that is, anybody she liked.
Did he ask you to find out?
No. I was just...
Well, you may tell Mr. Brooke that we don't like anybody in our house. That is, we like a great many people, but we don't like young men. Oh, we like young men, too, but... We don't like young men who wonder about who else we like.
Oh.
And Meg is too young and too fine, and far, far too clever to bother about who wonders about it. It's ridiculous.
I beg your pardon, Miss March.
Yes?
You're on fire.
What?
Your dress in the rear.
Oh, how clumsy. Well, put it out. Don't just stand there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't hurt you.
Oh, that's the second dress I've scorched this week. You see, I like to toast myself, and I get too close. I think I better go home.
Oh, please don't go. It's dull as tombs here.
Is that why you stand at your window looking at us?
Well, it's rude of me, I know, but you always seem to be having such a good time. When the lamps are lighted, it's like looking at a picture, Miss March. All of you gathered around the fire with your mother.
Well, then why don't you come over? Then you'd be a part of the picture. And Marmee is so splendid.
Well, my grandfather mightn't approve. He'd say I was imposing. But in spite of that...
Oh, bilge. Oh, I know his face frightens half of Concord, but it doesn't frighten me. Of course, every time I've ever seen him, he's been barking at something. Nevertheless, I rather like him.
Well, that's something, isn't it?
Oh, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, madam. My face frightens half of Concord, does it?
Yes, sir. Frankly, it does. You understand, I don't think you mean to frighten them, but your face is... Well, you ask me, sir, and yes, I do think so.
And I bark, do I?
I've heard you bark, yes, sir. Perhaps you don't bark all the time, but you do bark, yes, sir.
And with all that, you rather like me, do you?
Yes, I do. I really do, in spite of everything.
And I like you. Have a cup of tea.
Oh, thank you. I had one. I was just going.
Not so fast, young lady. I have something to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Unless you have already asked her, Laurie.
No, sir. I've had difficulty saying much of anything, sir.
Yes. Young lady, on Saturday night there will be a cotillion of sorts in this house. We shall be happy if you and your sisters attend.
A cotillion? Here?
Well, will you attend?
Will we? I shall ask my mother, Mr. Lawrence. It's very grateful of you, sir. Yeah, I'll go home and ask her right now. A cotillion? Christopher Columbus.
Well, you know, Laurie, I wonder if that young woman ever walks.
Christopher Columbus, sir. I wonder, too.
In a few moments, we'll bring you Act 2 of Little Women. And now, here's our Hollywood reporter, Libby Collins. What's new, Libby?
Well, Mr. Keeley, the darling of musical movies will soon be seen in a new one. Betty Grable in 20th Century Fox's Wabash Avenue.
An event that will make the fans happy. You know, Betty's always delightful in a singing and dancing part.
She plays a gay 90s cabaret performer in love with Victor Mature, the breezy lad who helps her to stardom.
And Phil Harris does himself proud in his first straight part as the diamond in the rough cafe owner.
You know, some of the ensemble scenes are way beyond what the 90s could have produced in lavishness. And Betty wears some fabulous costumes.
And does full justice to them.
Indeed she does, John. For Wabash Avenue, her hair is lighter than usual. And in Technicolor, you get the full effect of her pink and gold loveliness.
She's a glamour girl, all right. Especially in some of those off-the-shoulder dresses.
Yes, John. You know, Betty Grable has been a Lux girl for years. For all over Lux loveliness, Betty Grable recommends the new bath-size cake. Says it gives her skin fresh, new beauty. Leaves her arms and shoulders looking so soft and smooth.
The new bath-size Lux toilet soap is really luxurious. Screen stars like its rich, creamy lather.
And the delicate fragrance it leaves on the skin. A flower-like fragrance that lasts.
Women everywhere are delighted with this satin-smooth bath cake. Your store is featuring Lux toilet soap now. Be sure to put both the bath and the complexion size on your shopping list. Let everyone in the family enjoy this generous, longer-lasting bath cake. See for yourself why 9 out of 10 screen stars use Lux toilet soap.
Part 1 of the Lux Radio Theater, going back to March 13th, 1950, 75 years ago, here on Classic Radio Theater, will continue in just a moment.
Let's look ahead to 1966, and there you are in your beautiful new home. You've got automatic gadgets everywhere. There's a sparkling new dream car in your garage. The youngsters are in a fine college. All's right with the world. Is this just an idle dream? No, this is a real future that you can start building right now. A secure, carefree, prosperous future built with United States savings bonds. In 10 years, you'll get back $4 for every $3 you've invested. Join the payroll savings plan where you work, or buy bonds where you bank. Start in 1956 to make 1966 the beginning of the golden years.
Now we go back to the Lux Radio Theater from 75 years ago, March 13th, 1950, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Now, our producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Act 2 of Little Women, starring June Allyson as Jo, Peter Lawford as Laurie, Margaret O'Brien as Beth, and Janet Leigh as Meg.
A party. An invitation to a party in the richest, most elegant home in Concord. Oh, no wonder we were so excited when Saturday night finally arrived. Yet, to be completely honest, only Amy and I really wanted to go.
You look just lovely, Meg, dear.
Thank
just
you, Mommy.
Lovely. Now, where's Amy?
Oh, she's painting Joe's dress, Mommy.
She's what?
Joe's done it again. Stood too close to the fire. Her best dress, too.
Oh, no.
Beth and I patched it for her, and now Amy's painting the patch to sort of blend it in. Watercolors.
Oh, that's splendid, Amy. Splendid. It's right as rain now.
But it still shows, Joe. I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, it's very simple. I shall spend the evening sitting in chairs with Beth.
Do I really have to go? Do I, Mommy? There'll be all those people.
But it would hurt their feelings if you stayed at home. And besides, little Beth, you must learn not to be afraid of people.
Well, you at least look most attractive, Beth. But look at me. My shoes are too tight. I have 19 hairpins sticking in my head and a patch on my back, and I feel dreadful.
Joe, don't you have your white gloves?
Oh, all right. Ooh, how I hate to be elegant. Well, good night, Marmee.
Good night, my dear.
Good night, Marmee.
Now, don't eat too much, Amy, and wait until you're asked.
Marmee, you'd think I were a child. Just tell Joe not to stride about and swear. She'll disgrace us.
I shall be prim as a dish. Come on, my dears. Let's be elegant or die.
I'm glad we found the spot, Amy. Nobody can see us behind all these potted palms.
A palm in a pot is a mark of elegance. Can you see Meg?
Oh, yes. She's still dancing with Laurie's friend.
Mr. Brooke, You know, my dear Beth, I do believe our Meg is stricken.
I think so, too. Dancing makes anybody dizzy.
Oh, I don't mean that.
Amy, just look. Just look at that piano over there. Oh, isn't it perfectly absolute? Why, it's bigger than our kitchen.
Who's that? Who's that behind the pot?
Oh, don't let him see me, Amy.
Why aren't you dancing, Miss Amy?
Mother thinks I'm too young, Mr. Lawrence. Besides, I'd rather mingle with my little sister than mingle with the crowd. She has an infirmity, Mr. Lawrence.
Oh?
She's shy.
Oh, I see.
But if it weren't for that, she'd be simply fastidious. She's a real artist, you know. Plays the piano beautifully.
Well, she should come over here and play sometime.
Oh, she'd never do that. She doesn't play for people, just herself.
But I wasn't going to listen to her. It's just that piano is going to ruin for want of use. But if no one cares to come, never mind.
Someone cares very much.
Oh, I didn't realize you heard what I was saying.
I heard, sir. I'm Beth, And I'll come if no one will hear me and be disturbed.
Not a soul, my dear, not a soul. And please tell your mother that I think all her daughters are simply fastidious.
Oh, Beth, isn't he just perfectionary? Well, I think... Amy, somebody's coming. Let's hide again. Oh, it's that stuck-up Miss Gardner and her daughter. Don't move.
Did you see him, Sally? Theodore Lawrence, still with that impudent Josephine March. Well, it's very obvious she set her cap for him.
Well, what can you expect, Mother? One of them has to marry for money, since they've none of their own.
Well, Mr. Lawrence will have something to say about that. I'm sure he has other ideas for the boy. Of course, it would be a triumph for Mrs. March. I must say she's managing the affair very well.
Amy, did you hear what they... Oh, Amy.
Now, this is the third dance, Joan. I'm hanged if I let you refuse me again.
Please, Laurie, don't ask me anymore.
Well, why not? How can a girl sit so much?
Oh, very well. See for yourself. There, I'm patched.
Oh, so you did it again, huh? Too close to the fire.
You know, life will be far less complicated for me when the warm weather comes.
Well, the least you can do is...
Joe, something awful's happened.
Amy.
Well, it can't be that bad.
Well, what is it?
Well, I can't tell you now, not in front of him. Beth wants to go home. She's had a dreadful shock, and I think I want to go home, too.
Where's Meg, Laurie?
Well, still with John Brooke, of course.
Laurie, would you fetch her, please?
Of course.
Joe, coming home from the party so early. Well, I'm glad you all had a nice time.
Oh, yes, Marmee. It was splendid.
Simply splendid.
Mommy, you don't have any plans for us, do you?
Plans?
Well, you know, like wanting us to marry rich men or something.
Well, yes, Joe. I have a great many plans. I want you all to be beautiful, accomplished, and good. Of course, I'd like to see you marry rich men, if you love them. But I'd rather see you as the happy wives of poor men, or even respectable old maids than queens on thrones without peace or self-respect.
Oh, I'm never going to get married. Never.
Aren't you, my Joe? Now go to bed, sweetheart. Go to
bed. One reason why Joe was so sure she'd never get married was because she wanted to be a writer far more than a wife. Joe never stopped writing, left her very little spare time, even for Laurie.
Laurie's here, Joe. He said that you said that Aunt March said you didn't have to go to her house today.
Well, Beth, just send him away.
He says he's just going to wait until you come down.
Oh, I wish he'd realize I haven't time for his nonsense. And what's in that package?
Slippers. I made them.
Who for?
A gentleman.
A gentleman? What's the matter with everybody in this family?
Oh, but this is an old gentleman. They're for Laurie's grandfather. He's been so kind about letting me play on that lovely piano. And in all the weeks I've been going there, I haven't even seen him.
Well, go ahead then. Give him the slippers.
If your story's finished, Joe, can I read it?
Nope, not now. But you keep your fingers crossed and maybe someday you'll read it in print. I'm taking it to the publishers this morning. Now, you run along.
Joe, but what'll I tell Laurie?
No, tell him I went up and smoked.
So Joe went into town. But what she didn't know was that Laurie went into town, too. And he waited for her in front of the publishing office.
That's not very good manners, Mr. Lawrence. Following me.
And what about your manners, trying to avoid me all the time? What were you doing in there?
What I was doing is a secret.
All right, keep your secret. Only I've got one, too.
Oh? Something plummy?
Something very plummy. Now tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine.
All right. Here.
A bank draft?
Well, read it.
Pay to Josephine Marsh the sum of $1. For what?
Now turn it over.
In full payment for her story entitled The Phantom Hand.
Well?
$1.
Oh, well, maybe it isn't much, but someday I'll get as much as $10.
Joe, I just don't understand you. Cooping yourself up in the garret, missing a lot of fun with me, working, and for what? For one measly little $1.
It isn't the $1. At least that's not all of it. It'll be read in print, and I wrote every word, and people will read it. People I've never even seen. Well, anyway, what's your secret?
Well, you remember the glove that Meg couldn't find?
Meg's glove? What about it?
I know where it is. In somebody's pocket. John Brooks. It's very romantic, isn't it?
No. It's horrid.
You don't like it?
Of all the sickly, sentimental rubbish. I'm disgusted. And I'm certainly glad Meg doesn't know. She'd be furious.
Well, I'm not so sure. I believe she's very fond of John.
She's perfectly happy with the way things are. And you'd better tell Mr. Brooke to keep away from us, or I'll let him know just what I think of him, trying to break up my family.
Oh, just wait till someone falls in love with you, Joe. You'll feel differently then. A soft summer day with the sun setting through the trees and your lover's arms around you.
I'd like to see anyone try it.
Would you? And what would you do?
I'd give him a good shove, just like this.
Joe! Joe, wait! What are you mad at me for?
Joe must have run all the way home. I remember how annoyed I was because she burst into the house just as Mr. Brooke was about to leave. He'd been calling on me. She all but knocked him down, too.
Well, can't a member of the family even come into the house?
Oh, I was never so embarrassed in all my life. Oh, Joe, when are you going to stop your rude, romping ways?
Not till I'm old and stiff and need a crutch.
Look at you. No hairpins, no combs, running down a public road.
I wish I was a horse.
Oh.
Falling in love, that's what you are. And Amy's not much better either. Always primping and showing off. Beth's the only one I can depend on. Where is she?
She's in the parlor. Oh, we just had a big surprise.
What kind of a surprise?
Mr. Lawrence sent her a present, and it took 6 men to carry it over. His piano.
Piano?
Yes, he's given it today.
For me, Joe. He gave it to me, Mr. Lawrence.
But his note, darling. We haven't even opened up the note he sent. Well, read it then.
I can't. Will you read it, Joe?
Miss Elizabeth March. Dear Madam.
Oh, how elegant.
I have had many pairs of slippers in my life, but never any that suited me so well as yours. I like to pay my debts, so I know you will allow the old gentleman to send you something which once belonged to the little granddaughter he lost.
Oh.
I remain your grateful friend and humble servant, James Lawrence.
Aren't you going to play the piano, darling?
Not now. I have to go and thank you.
Oh, look at her, Marmee. A scared little rabbit going all by herself.
The piano's turned her head. She'd never go, not in her right mind.
A young lady to see you, Mr. Lawrence. Miss Beth March, the pianist.
Well, show her in. Show her in.
Good afternoon.
Well, can't you come any closer?
Yes, sir.
Now look at your chin. It's all quivering. But why?
I came to thank you, sir. I came to thank you.
Little girl. Little girl.
So many things happened in those fast, fleeting days, and now in retrospect, I see them far more clearly than when they were actually happening. But then I suppose all I could think of was John Brooke. But one event struck all of us, like a bolt of lightning. A telegram from the War Department.
So your father's in the hospital, eh? Wounded.
Marmie's packing now, Aunt March, and she sent me to ask for your help. She needs $25 for the fare.
Oh, she does, Miss Joe. I begged your father not to go in the first place, but nobody listens to me. Not until they get into trouble.
Oh, Aunt March, what's the use of all that now? The train leaves in 2 hours.
Always interrupting me. But you'll listen this time.
No, I won't. I only came here because Marmie says she's not too proud to beg for Father. Well, I am. I'm too proud to beg for anyone. I'd rather streak the sweet than ever come to you again.
Stubborn, obstinate, rude. Josephine, come back here. Come back
So you had another argument with Aunt March?
Yes, Marmie.
Well, that's funny. She didn't say anything about it when she was here just now.
Aunt March was here?
Why, yes, dear. She brought me the money.
Oh, no.
And where have you been? Loy's been looking all over for you, Joe.
Oh, I lost my temper, so I decided to get some money on my own. Here, Marmie.
But where did you get it? How?
Well, look.
Oh, Joe. Joe, your hair, your beautiful hair.
Oh, my poor Joe.
Amy, look. Joe's cut her hair off and sold it.
Well, it doesn't affect the fate of the nation, so don't start wailing.
So you've come home. I've been looking... Christopher Columbus, you look like a porcupine.
Really? I feel deliciously light and cool.
Your hair will grow back, Joe. It'll be just as lovely as ever. But you will never be more beautiful than you are now.
Marmee, your train.
I'll be glad to drive you to the station, Mrs. March.
Thank you, Laurie. Goodbye, my darlings. God bless and keep us all.
Never was our house as empty as now. Father wounded in a hospital. How badly we didn't even know, and now Marmee had left us too. And then came the worst disaster of all.
Come on in, Beth. Lunch is all ready. How are the Hummels, dear? Did you help them like Marmee said? Don't come near me.
Beth, what is it?
The baby. The Hummels baby. The baby's dead, Joe. The baby's dead.
Oh, no.
I tried to warm her feet, but she was so cold and lay so still. Then I knew she was dead. The doctor gave it. He said it was scarlet fever.
Oh, Beth. Look at her. Look at her face.
No, keep away from me. I'm too funny. I'll put her to bed. Joe, run for Dr. Barnes.
We pause now for station identification. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. In a few moments, we'll continue with Act 3 of Little Women. We're delighted to have with us tonight the well-known musical comedy star of stage and screen, Miss Benevenuta. Welcome to the Lux Radio Theater, Miss Venuta.
Thank you, Mr. Keeley.
I understand you've been appearing with Betty Hutton in Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's new Technicolor musical, Annie Get Your Gun.
Mm-hmm, and I think it was the most exciting experience I've ever had. Betty is certainly the girl to play Annie Oakley in the screen version of Irving Berlin's stage hit.
And, of course, the picture has the famous Irving Berlin tunes from the show.
Uh-huh. There's no business like show business and doing what comes naturally and many others.
At the preview, the audience came out as thrilled as though they'd attended a Broadway opening.
And at the same preview, feminine fans discovered a new romantic singing star when they saw Howard Keel as Frank Butler.
And don't forget Louis Calhern as Buffalo Bill and Edward Arnold as Pawnee Bill.
Weren't they wonderful?
They were indeed.
But this will interest you, Mr. Keeley. I know the whole cast feels that much of the credit for the picture should go to George Sidney for his fine direction.
I agree. And I'm sure everyone in MGM's Annie Get Your Gun was charmed by Betty's high spirits and beauty. I'll wager that when they saw you and Betty, they said, what lovely Lux complexions.
Thank you. Those of us who have camera close-ups to face give our skin the best care we know. Mr. Kennedy, both Betty and I are devoted to our daily Lux soap facials.
Those facials really work, don't they?
Yes. It's such a quick, easy care, but it certainly does the trick.
Recent tests by skin specialists prove that. In actually 3 out of 4 cases, complexions became softer, smoother, in just a short time. Thank you, Miss Benevenuta, for being here tonight. I think women everywhere will welcome your beauty tip on gentle, protecting Lux soap care. Now, here's a suggestion. Your store is featuring Lux toilet soap now. Be sure to put both the complexion and the big bath size on your shopping list. See what quick new loveliness this fragrant white soap will give your skin. Remember, 9 out of 10 screen stars use Lux toilet soap.
Act 2 of the Lux Radio Theater, 75 years ago, March 13th, 1950, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage at classicradio.stream, and we'll continue with Part 3 in just a moment.
Our religious institutions are strongholds of the American way of life. Our country was founded by men who had faith in God and who were willing to endure hardship and sacrifice for the sake of that faith. Today, the religious institutions in your community need your interest and support, so take an active part in religious affairs. Your pastor, rabbi, or priest will give you invaluable family counsel and aid if you are a newcomer to the community. To face the problems of the future, America must be morally strong. And that moral strength comes through worship and faith. Go to church this week and take someone with you.
Now on Classic Radio Theater, the conclusion of the Lux Radio Theater, 75 years ago, March 13th, 1950.
Now, Mr. William Keeley, our producer.
The curtain rises on Act 3 of Little Women, starring June Allyson as Jo, Peter Lawford as Laurie, Margaret O'Brien as Beth, and Janet Leigh as Meg.
Those were the darkest days of our lives. But our prayers were answered, and our little sister Beth was spared. Marmee was home by now, and then the glorious day when Papa came back to us, too. Thin and worn and weak, but home again.
Well, Meg, I guess the March family is all together once again. Oh, I call that splendid. I do, really. If only you didn't...
If I didn't what?
Meg, are you expecting that man to call?
Man? Well, if you mean John Brooke, Joe.
Well, I hope you don't think you're in love with him. Because I can tell you that you're not.
I'm not?
Nope. You see, Meg, I'm a writer, and so I know. You have none of the symptoms. Your appetite's fine, you sleep like a log, and you don't mope in corners. Therefore, you're not in love. Therefore, do not go and marry that man.
I don't intend to go and marry any man.
You don't? Hooray for you. You're a trump. But what will you say to him when he comes begging for your hand?
Well, I shall say, thank you, Mr. Brooke, quite calmly and decidedly. Thank you, Mr. Brooke. Let us be good friends, but nothing more.
Good. Hand him the mitten, Meg, and then maybe things around here will be the way they were when...
Oh, no.
Oh, no, what?
Joey's here. Look, the veranda.
You're in luck. You can tell him off right now. Oh, if I could only see his face when you do.
Poor John. I tried to send him away. I really did, but I didn't have a chance to. We weren't alone for 5 minutes before Aunt March descended on us and ordered me out in the hall.
What was he doing? Proposing to you, wasn't he?
Oh, please, Aunt March. He'll hear you.
Well, let me tell you, miss. Accept that, Rook, Crook, or Brooke, and not one penny of my money goes to you.
I shall marry whom I please, Aunt March, and I don't care anything about your money.
It is your duty, Miss Independence, to marry a rich man and help your family. You may be perfectly sure that fortune chaser knows you have a rich aunt, and that is why he wants to marry you.
How dare you say such a thing? Why, my John would no more marry for money than I would.
Do as you please. But the day you marry him, consider yourself disinherited. Now you've even made me forget what I came here for in the first place.
Meg, I couldn't help it over here.
Oh, John.
Thank you for defending me, Meg. For proving that you do care.
I didn't know how much until she said those dreadful things.
Meg, my dearest Meg.
Something.
Joe, what is it?
Go downstairs, quick. John Brooke is acting dreadfully, and Meg likes it.
John and I were married 3 months later. There was a reception afterwards at the Lawrence home, and I saw Joe steal away from the crowd, and then Laurie going after her. I was so sure then that another wedding would not be far distant.
Oh, don't feel too badly, Joe. She's still your sister, and there isn't a finer man in the world than John Brooke.
She married him after all of her promises.
Well, you've still got me, Joe. I'm not good for much, I know, but I'll stand by you all the days of my life.
You don't know what a comfort you are to me, Laurie.
Joe, will you listen to what I want to tell you?
No, Laurie, don't say it.
Oh, but I will, and you must hear me. It's no use, Joe.
Please.
I've loved you ever since I've known you. I couldn't help it. I've tried to show you, but you wouldn't let me. And now I'm going to make you give me an answer.
I never wanted you to care for me so. I tried to keep you from it when I could.
And I only loved you more for it. Oh, I know I'm not good enough for you, Joe, but if you love me, you can make me anything you like.
Oh, Laurie, I wouldn't change you. You should marry a lovely, accomplished girl who adores you. Someone who would give you the sort of life you really want. I wouldn't. We'd quarrel, Laurie, and...
Oh, no, we wouldn't.
Oh, we always have, you know, and everything would be horrid.
Oh, it'd be heaven. Joe, I just can't go on without you.
I'm so sorry, Laurie. So desperately sorry. But I can't say I love you when I don't.
Really and truly, Joe?
Really and truly, Laurie. I don't think I'll ever marry.
Oh, yes, you will. You'll meet some good-for-nothing fool and work and live and die for him. I know you will because it's just your way, and I'm to stand by and see it all happen. Well, I'll be hanged if I will.
Laurie, where are you going?
To the devil.
Laurie.
The months went by, and Laurie and Joe scarcely saw each other. And then, through Aunt March, Joe heard of a position in New York. A good family in need of a governess.
Oh, I've always wanted to go to New York, Marmee. Why, they have the finest libraries and theaters there. And in my spare time, I can write.
Let me talk it over with Father, my darling.
I've already asked him. He says it's up to you.
It might be good for you, Joe.
Oh, it would. And I won't stay forever. A year, maybe. And when I come back, why, everything will be just the same as it used to be.
I have no little ones anymore, Joe.
Oh, you have Beth, Marmee, and Amy?
Yes, Joe. Yes, of course.
So, Joe left Concord. We heard from her regularly, and always an inquiry about Laurie. And after a while, always a passing mention of a tutor in the household, a foreigner named Professor Bear.
Was ich leide, allein und
Oh, Miss March.
Oh, please don't stop, Professor Bear. It's so beautiful.
Thank you very much.
What is that song? I've heard you play it before.
It's called Nur wer die Sehnsucht kennt. Do you understand German, Miss March?
No, I don't.
The words are by a famous writer, Goethe. I will try to say them for you in English. Let's see now. Only who knows what longing is can know what I suffer. Alone and parted, far from joy and gladness, my senses fail. A burning fire devours me.
Oh, if only I could write something like that. Something that would set other hearts on fire.
You truly like to write, do you not?
Oh, it's my life, Professor Bear.
Sometime you will show me what you have written.
Oh, yes. And I've just sold another story. It's in the Weekly Volcano. Oh, it's a wonderful one about... Well, if you'd really like to read it...
The Weekly Volcano?
It's a magazine. And it's the best story I've ever done.
How happy you look, Miss March. I'm so glad for you.
I am happy.
Then you have not missed your home so much lately? Or your old friends?
No, I haven't. And you are most responsible for that.
Thank you, my little friend.
Oh, showing me this wonderful, exciting city. The museums, the theaters.
I will tell you something, Miss March. There is no greater pleasure than to hear or see something beautiful with someone who...
Excuse me, Miss March.
Yes, Paul?
You have visitors, miss. Your aunt and your sister.
Yes, Amy and Aunt March were in New York, but not for long. Aunt March was taking Amy abroad to Europe.
Of course, I know I promised to take you to Europe, Joe. But then Amy and I get along famously. And I never did get along with you, now did I?
Oh, it's all right, Aunt March. Oh, and Amy, dear, I'm so happy for you. Now, tell me, how's the family?
Oh, they're all fine, Joe. Except Beth. She hasn't been well since she was so sick that time.
Beth. Oh, but she must get well. She must.
And you do know that Meg is expecting. Dreadful, isn't it?
Oh, no, Addie, it's wonderful. And, how's Laurie?
Laurie? Well, didn't you see him when he was here?
Here? In New York?
2 weeks ago. He and Mr. Lawrence are on their way to England.
And he didn't come to see me?
Oh, can you blame him after the way you trotted off?
He didn't even try to see me.
Yes, Miss March. I have read everyone. All your stories. Thank you for lending them to me.
Well, Professor Bear?
I must be honest, little friend. I was disappointed.
Oh.
Why do you write such artificial characters? Such contrived plots? Villains, murderers, fainting women. Do you not know that... Miss March, I have hurt you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't pay any attention to me. It's just that everything happens at once.
Everything?
Well, my little sister is ill, and my trip to Europe will never be, and Laurie.
Laurie? Oh, yes, your friend.
He was in New York. He didn't even try to see me.
What a fool he must be. And I chose this moment to criticize your writing.
Oh, no. No, I always knew my stories weren't very good, but you see, they help at home to pay the bills.
Yes, that is what I thought. And I said to myself, maybe I have no right to speak to her, for she does have talent.
Have I really?
Great talent, little friend. And I say to you, sweep first the mud in the street before you are false to that talent. Say to yourself, I will never write a single line which I have not first felt in my own heart. Say to yourself, when I'm young, I will write the simple, beautiful things I know and understand. Will you do that, Josephine?
I'll try.
I have a rich friend. He's a publisher. When you are ready for it, I will see that he reads what you write.
Thank you, only I'm going back to Concord. I'm going home.
Going? Home?
It's where I belong.
Then I will not see you again? Yes. Go back to your home and write your stories. And maybe someday I will see you there, in your home.
Joe was back, and the old house in Concord was briefly lighted again. But there was a great darkness impending. Oh, Beth. Our little Beth.
Don't cry, Joe. I don't want you to cry for me.
I'm not crying for you, darling. I'm just lonesome for Amy and Meg and our old happy times. I'll be all right.
It's no use, Joe. I know what the doctor must have said. Please don't tell Mommy or Father. But I know. Oh, Joe, you mustn't be afraid. Doesn't it sound funny, me saying that to you, when you've always said it to me? You've always reminded me of a seagull, Joe. Strong and wild, fond of the wind and storm, and dreaming of flying out to sea. And Mommy said I was the cricket on the hearth, content to stay at home. I can't express it very well. I guess I shouldn't even try, except to my Joe. But it seems that I was never intended to live very long. I never planned what I would do when I grew up, like the rest of you did, because I could never bear the thought of leaving home. But I'm not afraid anymore, Joe. I've learned that I won't lose you, that nothing can really part us, though it seems to, and that we'll always be a family, even though one of us is gone. But, Joe, I think I will be homesick for you, even in heaven.
In April, when my baby was born, I named her Elizabeth, in memory of our sister. After we had lost Beth, no one saw very much of Jo. She'd shut herself up in the garret writing. But then one day she came to visit me. It's all finished, Meg. My novel. I'm on my way to the post office now.
Oh, Joe, how wonderful. Can I read it?
When it comes back.
Oh, maybe it won't come back. Maybe they'll publish it.
I'm not sending it to a publisher. It's going to Professor Bear.
Oh, you write to him often, don't you?
Yes, I do. And he knows what I'm writing about. I mean, he understands me, Meg.
Well, I think it's splendid. We had a letter, Joe, from Laurie.
Oh?
Joe, how would you feel if you heard that Laurie was learning to care for someone else?
Amy?
Yes. They're all in Paris now.
Then I wouldn't mind at all, Meg. How could I?
Well, it's just that you seem so alone, Joe. I thought that if Laurie came back again, you might...
No. Amy and Laurie. I'm truly glad, Meg. Truly glad.
In June, Amy and Laurie were back in Concord as husband and wife.
Joe, are you busy? May I come in?
Laurie! Oh, Laurie, when did you get back? Where's Amy?
Downstairs with the family. We and a thunderstorm just arrived.
Oh, I can't wait to see her.
Joe, dear, I want to say one thing. Then we'll put it by forever.
You don't need to say it, Laurie. It was always meant to be this way.
You tried so hard to make me understand.
You were so impatient and stubborn.
Well, now that everything came about the way you wanted it, it'll be like old times again.
No, Laurie. The old days can never come back. We can still love each other and help each other all the rest of our lives.
Dear Joe, for the rest of our lives.
Now let's go down. I want to kiss the bride.
It was a wonderfully happy reunion that day. Even Aunt March was reasonably cheerful. Only if Beth... During the party, Laurie heard someone at the front door.
I beg your pardon. Is Miss March in? Miss Josephine March?
Why, yes. Won't you come in?
Oh, but there are guests?
Well, yes, but...
I will go. If you will just give her this, please.
Well, yes, of course. Thank you. This is for you, Joe.
Why, thank you, Laurie.
Oh, it isn't from me. Some man
Well,
just...
open it up, Joe. Don't just look at it.
Why, it's a book.
Yes. Yes, Marmee.
My Beth by Josephine March. Joe, it's your book. It's been published.
Well, why didn't you tell us?
Published a book?
Who left it, Laurie?
Well, a man with sort of an accent.
Oh, where is he?
Well, he wouldn't come in. He went away.
Oh, no. He couldn't have. He couldn't have.
Joe, come back. It's pouring outside. Professor Bear.
Miss March, Josephine.
Where are you going?
Back to the railroad station. I came to bring you your book. My friend published it, you see. He has great hopes. He thinks...
Oh, never mind what he thinks. Did you like it?
It has such truth, such simple beauty. But I cannot tell you what is deep in my heart.
And you were going away. I might never have seen you again. Oh, please come back.
I couldn't intrude. You have guests.
Oh, no, it's just my family. My sister's come home. Amy. She's married to that man I told you about.
Laurie?
Yes.
Oh.
And it's the first time we've all been together in such a long time. You will come back.
Oh, please. Please, Joe. Just one moment before...
Yes?
I have a wish to ask something. Would you... I have not the courage to think that, but if I could hope that... I know I shouldn't have asked. I have nothing to give you but my heart, which is full, and these hands which are empty.
Then take my hands in yours.
Joe, my darling.
Oh, let me keep them there forever.
We reluctantly draw the curtain and bring our little women forward for a bow. And here they are, escorted by Peter Lawford, June Allyson, Margaret O'Brien, and Janet Lee. June, we'll never forget your performance as Joe March.
Well, it's an unforgettable part, Bill, but thank you anyway.
And you, Peter, you're an extremely lucky fellow to star with three such charming girls.
Oh, I know it, Bill. I hurried home from New York the moment I heard you were going to produce it.
Margaret just got in from New York, too. You must have followed her out here, Pete.
Oh, dear, I hope some columnists won't make an item out of this.
Well, little women, you are a very attractive item.
Incidentally, June, did you know that Bill Keeley once played in Little Women on the stage?
No, I didn't. When was that, Bill?
Well, let's just say it was some years ago, June.
I guess Little Women will go on forever growing up.
That's what you seem to have done, Margaret.
Yes, Margaret practically grew up on this stage. And she's always been one of our most enthusiastic Lux girls.
Well, aren't we all? Lux soap is my favorite complexion care.
You're wise to start early, Margaret. I always use Lux soap, too.
June, I know you've been starring in a picture at MGM called The Reformer and the Redhead. I can guess who the Redhead is, but who's the Reformer?
Oh, it's a new actor named Powell. Dick Powell. It's a little different role for him, and one I hope he won't try around the house. I'm quite happy with the way things are.
What's your play going to be next week, Mr. Keeley?
It's the 20th Century Fox comedy hit, Father Was a Fullback. A rollicking story of a football coach who has as much trouble raising two daughters as he does winning a football game. We're delighted to welcome back for her original role the glamorous Maureen O'Hara, and co-starring with her the very popular Paul Douglas. It's a comedy the whole family will enjoy.
Well, we'll be listening, Bill. Good night.
Yes,
Good night. It's a wonderful evening.
Here's a fashion flash from Hollywood.
Dark seams or contrasting clocks on blonde stockings are the most exciting stocking news since nylons came back. June Allyson likes them with sheer chiffon dresses for a fragile, delicate look. But even her sheerest nylons last twice as long because they always get Lux Flakes care. You know that rubbing stockings with cake soap or using strong soap makes runs come much sooner. Strain tests prove it. Prove that Lux Flakes makes all kinds of stockings last twice as long. No wonder over 90% of the makers of stockings recommend this gentle care. Put Lux Flakes on your shopping list tomorrow. Give all your nice washables that lovely Lux look.
Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Toilet Soap, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday evening when the Lux Radio Theater presents Paul Douglas and Maureen O'Hara in Father Was a Fullback with Betty Lynn. This is William Keeley saying good night to you from Hollywood.
June Allyson, Peter Lawford, and Janet Leigh appeared by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, producers of Nancy Goes to Rio, starring Ann Sothern and Jane Powell. Heard in our cast tonight were Rhoda Williams as Amy, Betty Lou Gerson as Marmee, and Robert Boone as the Professor. Our play was adapted by S.H. Barnett, and our music was directed by Louis Silvers. This is your announcer, John Milton Kennedy, reminding you to join us again next Monday night to hear Father Was a Fullback, starring Maureen O'Hara and Paul Douglas with Betty Lynn. Stay tuned for My Friend Irma, which follows over these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
"75 years ago, March 13th, 1950, the Lux Radio Theater here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Up next, let's see what's going on in Pine Ridge with Lum and Abner.
You know, this is still the season for carefree holidays and vacations. But don't be carefree on the highway. With roads jammed with traffic, this is the time to be extra careful when driving. When you plan a trip, be sure to allow plenty of time so that you won't be forced to drive too fast or too long. When you get tired at the wheel, you lose your skill and your judgment. So don't drive too many hours at a stretch. Plan your trip so that you can stop frequently and get plenty of rest. And when you start that trip, resolve that you're going to obey traffic laws and regulations. Don't gamble with safety. Remember, the life you save may be your own.
So we're watching the whole situation in Pine Ridge fall apart with Diogenes. And what was Diogenes doing? And why did he run off after he found out Lum had been talking to a detective? Well, let's see if we can learn a little more in this episode of Lum and Abner from 83 years ago, March 13th, 1942.
The makers of Alka-Seltzer bring you Lum and Abner. I wonder how many of you Lum and Abner listeners have planned an evening of cards, a movie, or a party with friends. Well, if you're looking forward to a good time soon, we just hope for your sake that yours is an Alka-Seltzer home. For if it is, and you happen to have too good a time, stay up too late, or eat or drink too much, well, with Alka-Seltzer handy, you're prepared to help yourself to quick relief for the headache or the stomach distress that may result. Just drop an Alka-Seltzer tablet or two into a glass of water like this. Listen to it fizz. Then drink it. It offers fast relief for that headache. It neutralizes excess gastric acidity, and it helps to settle that upset stomach. Think of it. Threefold relief for common after-the-party ailments can be yours in just one glass of Alka-Seltzer. Try it, won't you? Get a package of Alka-Seltzer tablets from your druggist tonight, for you may want the quick, pleasant relief it offers in the morning. And now, let's see what's going on down in Pine Ridge. Well, Lum is still convinced that the lantern which Diogenes Smith left in Cedric's care has the magic powers of an Aladdin's lamp. However, Cedric loaned the Macmillan boys a lantern for their fishing trip, and by mistake he gave them the one belonging to Diogenes. As we look in on the little community today, we find Abner alone in the Jot-'em-Down store and library. He's on the telephone. Listen.
Yes, Mom. 2 cans of tomatoes. A can of hominy. All right. A pound of sugar. Wait a minute. You got to take 2 pounds of sugar, Miss Barton. I can't help it. It don't matter whether you can afford it or not. You got to take 2 pounds. The government sent us a letter saying 2 pounds of sugar to a customer, and I doggies that's what it's going to be. Well, we'll give you the other pound on the credit, Tim, but you got to take it.
Oh, excuse me. I never knowed you was on the phone.
Yes, Mom. Mousie'll deliver it this afternoon. All right, Miss Barton. Wonderful world.
Wonderful. Sorry I'm getting down so late, Abner, but I had to set up all night doing air raid warden's duty last night, so I slept in this morning.
Oh, well, don't make no difference, Lum. Weren't much business no way.
Have you heard anything from Cedric yet?
No, not a word.
Did you call up over to the place to see if he's back?
No, but Caleb, his pa, was in the store a while ago and said he ain't seen nothing of him since he left yesterday to find the Macmillan boys.
I hope he finds them and gets that lantern back before them Macmillan boys discovers they're carrying around a magic lamp. I'd hate for him to find that out.
Well, Lum, I don't think you can get money out of that lantern just by rubbing it. We rubbed that other one all day and nothing happened.
Well, of course not. We had the wrong lantern. The magic one was the one that Diogenes left for Cedric to carry around.
Huh?
Then Cedric had to go and loan it to the Macmillan boys by mistake.
Well, I still don't believe it's magic, though.
Oh, don't be silly, Abner. Cedric, just the same as admitted, that's where he's been getting all his money. He said he polished the lantern every morning and got himself a big roll of money.
Yeah, but maybe he got the money someplace else.
Well, he couldn't have. He ain't smart enough to earn that much money.
No.
And then take Diogenes. Did you ever notice how he never come right out and said how he got rich? Always got off on some other subject whenever you ask about it.
Yeah, well, I never could follow what he's talking about no way, them big words.
And then take this work he was doing, printing up pamphlets on right living and then giving them away. He couldn't make no money that way.
No.
And yet he's able to offer a $10,000 prize to the most honest man in our town.
Yeah, that's right.
No, Sir Abner, there just ain't no two ways about it. That lantern is magic, just like Aladdin's lamp. And we can't let it slip through our fingers, neither.
Through our fingers? Well, we don't own it. Diogenes does. And he ought to be getting back pretty soon, Lum. He's been gone a week.
Goodness, that's right, ain't it?
Why, of course, he left town in such a rush. He never said exactly where he's going. Said he's going to get some more paper and stuff for his printing press. That oughtn't to take very long.
Well, that just means we got to work fast and get all we can out of that lamp before he gets back. Better call over to the place and see if Cedric's got back yet.
Well, no use doing that, Lum. Cedric said he'd come right direct to the store.
He did, huh?
Sure.
Maybe I ought to go out and look for him.
Say, that reminds me, too. There was a feller in here this morning looking for Cedric.
There was? Who was it?
I don't know. Some stranger. I never seen him before. Awful friendly sort of feller, though. Adams, I believe he said his name was.
Well, what was he wanting with Cedric?
I don't know. He just appeared to be interested in him. Asked what he done for a living and what kind of a feller he was, and if he had much money.
Money? Uh-oh.
What's the matter?
I was afeard of that. Dad blame it.
Feared of what?
Well, don't you see? Word's got around about Cedric and his magic lamp. And that Adams feller's heard about it somehow, and he's down here to get it away from Cedric.
You reckon that's it, sure enough?
Well, sure. There's more proof right there that lantern is magic. Granny, now we got to work faster than ever. If that Adams feller comes back to the store, tell him that Cedric's moved to some other town, to Africa.
Africa?
Well, any place.
Well, Cedric never went to Africa, Lum. He just went out to hunt for the Macmillan boys.
I know that.
I know they never went to Africa. They just went down on a river to fish for a day or two.
Abner, I know where they went. Wait a minute. I bound you them Macmillan boys already knowed about the magic lamp.
Knowed about it?
Yes, sir. If that Adams feller's heard about it already, no reason why the Macmillan boys hadn't heard about it, too.
No.
And that's why they borrowed the lantern. They more'n likely knowed all the time Cedric was giving them Diogenes' lantern instead of his own. Tricked him out of it some way.
Well, I doggered if they knowed the secret of that lantern, I bound you they're catching an awful lot of fish.
Well, I don't even think they went fishing.
Well, I don't blame them with that thing. I wouldn't either. I'd just sit at home or lay there in a hammock, rub that lantern, get all the fish I wanted. Get 'em already fried, too.
I don't mean that, Abner. I mean they weren't after fish at all.
Huh?
They more'n likely just headed right out for some big city to spend money and buy up some big businesses and stuff. Grannies, Cedric won't never find them now.
Well, ain't they never coming back to Pine Ridge?
I doubt it. Not unless they come back in a great big black car. I know whose idea that was, too. It was that oldest boy, Ernest. I never did trust him.
You don't trust Ernest?
Of course not. That sneaky snake in the weeds. I wouldn't put nothing past that varmint.
Why, Lum, just last week you was saying what a good boy you thought Ernest was.
I did, huh?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was just being polite. Wish now I'd have said what I actually thought.
Well?
I've got a good mind to go right over there and tell his papa what a underhanded young'un he's brung up. I'll tell him how deceitful Ernest is, and greedy and selfish.
Selfish?
Why, of course he is. Do you think he'll give any of that money away? No, sir. Not Ernest.
He won't, huh?
Keep every last cent of that for himself. More'n likely won't even give his own brother none of it, or his wife.
Well, I never would have expected he was like that.
Oh, he's so greedy he'll rub that lantern so often he'll use it all up. Grannies, I'd just like to get my hands on it once before that happens. That's all I need is just one try at it. I'd ask it for $100 million.
Well, I don't think you'll get that one try, though, Lum.
No, I know I won't now. Grannies, if that Ernest had 1 ounce of decency in himself, he'd let somebody else get in on that, too. What he ought to do is just set that out in the middle of the street on a platform and let everybody in town use it.
Why, sure, that'd be a good idea.
Of course it's a good idea. We could all go by there and rub it a little and get a lot of money. But
yeah.
Just try telling that to Ernest.
Well,
Stingy outfit.
Might get his brother to steal it away from him.
Wonderful world.
Oh, Cedric, how many times have I told you not to sneak up that way?
Well, look what I got. The lantern.
Doggies, look, Lum, the lantern.
Grannies, don't worry. I can see it. Good for you, Cedric. Good for you.
Did you have to trail them clean to the city to get it away from them?
Mom?
Did you have to go to the city to get it from the Macmillan boys?
No, they went fishing, I told you. They brung it back just now.
Brung it back? Well, that's funny. Mean and ornery and selfish as that Ernest is.
Mom, Abner, hush up. Don't talk that way about Ernest. He's a good boy. Cedric, we want to have a little talk with you.
Why, you just now said that Ernest was a sneaky snake in the weeds.
I didn't mean it exactly that way. Besides, we ain't got time to discuss that now. We got some important business to do with Cedric here. With me? Yeah, now listen, Cedric. Ain't no use beating around the bush. The both of us know that lantern there is, well, sort of valuable. Yes, Mom, one like this can cost at least $4 or $5, I think. Yeah, at least. Now, here's what we're willing to do, Cedric. We'll give you a third interest in the Jot 'em Down store for a half interest in that lantern. The lantern? Oh, no, I couldn't do that, Mr. Lum. Not for a third of your store. You couldn't, huh? Well, just a minute, then. Abner and me are going to have a meeting of the executives. Wait right there, Cedric. Come on back here, Abner.
Yeah, sure. What's the meeting for, Lum?
Not so loud.
Huh?
I feared he'd hold out for more than a third of the store.
Oh. Well, what are we going to do now?
Well, would you be willing to give a half interest in the store for half interest in the lantern?
Half interest? I don't know, Lum. He'll own more than either you or me then.
Yeah, but we can get enough money out of the lantern in 5 minutes to buy back the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
$100 million.
Sure.
Right off the bat.
Go ahead, give him half. Give him all of it. I don't care.
No, we just keep him as a partner.
Yeah. I want to stay close to Cedric.
All Cedric. Cedric.
Yes, Mom?
Cedric, we're going to give you a whole half interest in this store for a half interest of that lantern. What do you think about that?
Well, gosh, Mr. Lum, I always wanted to go in business, but you ought to get more than just half of my lantern.
Oh, we're satisfied, Cedric.
Well, how about it if I give you $1,000 besides?
Huh?
$1,000?
Yes, Mom, I got plenty of money.
Well, if that'll make you happy, Cedric, that's all right with us. Is it a deal?
Yes, Mom, it's a deal. Boy.
Well, put her there, Cedric, old partner. Go ahead, Abner. Shake hands with your new partner.
Why, sure. I'll shake with him. How'd it do, Cedric, old feller? How's it feel to be a big businessman?
Oh, boy, it sure feels good. Well, I better go and get that $1,000 I owe you.
Go and get it. You don't have to go no place. The lantern's right here. Go ahead. Let's see you rub it once, Cedric.
Rub it?
Why, sure. Ain't that where you get your money from?
No, Mom. That lantern ain't got nothing to do with my money. I get that from someplace else. I can't tell where, though. It's a secret.
Say, folks, here's an announcement from the makers of Alka-Seltzer about a new one-a-day vitamin tablet. It's the one-a-day brand Vitamin B Complex tablet. That's the same brand name as the famous one-a-day vitamin A and D tablets many of you are taking every day, but this new tablet contains an entirely different group of vitamins. The vitamins of the B complex. Now, the daily need of an adequate amount of these vitamins is not just theoretical or unimportant, for the body cannot get along and maintain its normal activity without B complex vitamins. Their absence from your daily diet can cause such disturbances as loss of appetite, subnormal growth in children, nervous irritability, digestive disturbances, and certain skin troubles. These symptoms, of course, do not necessarily indicate vitamin B deficiency, as there are many other possible causes for any of them. But that they can be caused by a B deficiency shows how important it is to you and to the other members of your family to get an adequate supply of these vitamins every day. Now, here's a way you can be sure of getting your minimum daily requirements of vitamins A and D and the essential vitamins of the B complex, whose requirements are known. Ask your druggist for both one-a-day vitamin A and D tablets in the yellow box and one-a-day vitamin B complex tablets in the gray box. One-a-day brand vitamins make it both easy and economical for you because just one of each, once a day, is all you take. Look for that big one on each package.
Now, let's face it, we knew it wasn't the lantern. But where is the money coming from? We'll let you know. Lum and Abner, 83 years ago, March 13th, 1942, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage at classicradio.stream and join us again tomorrow for comedy here on Classic Radio Theater. I'm Wyatt Cox.